I got you into a Remington party. What's my thanks? It's on the hallway carpet. I got paid in puke. Lick it up, baby. I got paid in puke.
Welcome to Paid in Puke, the podcast where we discuss female-driven films through an inclusive feminist lens, with the help of the 1988 film Heathers. Paid in Puke is hosted by Jessica Baxter, Amy Green, and Christina Barr. It's also a spoiler-filled free-for-all. You've been warned. Welcome to the Paid in Puke 2025 Oscars Special! Woo! This is gonna be a weird one because of the LA fires, Hollywood notables have decided to move Oscar stuff around. So originally we were supposed to have the Oscar nominations come out on the 17th. Today is the 21st of January. The Oscar noms are presented on the 23rd. And they just announced the hosts today, Bowen Yang and Rachel Sennett. Anyway, so because of this and our collectively busy schedules, we're only able to record today. So instead of our usual format, we'll talk about movies we liked and movies we think will get a lot of Oscar attention, whether we like them or not. And then when they're dropped, add the predictions and post. I'm Jessica Baxter.
Oh, I'm Amy Green.
I'm Christina Barr.
And we are thrilled once again to have our friend and Oscars enthusiast, Denise Rodriguez.
Woo!
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Always happy to have you for this Oscar special.
I look forward to it all year.
And you're always the most prepared out of all of us.
Not this year.
Pretty prepared, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. I think you still might be, even though I feel more prepared than ever. So the 97th Academy Awards is scheduled to air March 2nd, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. They'll broadcast it live from the Dolby Theater in Hollywood, per usual, and they will finally stream it live on Hulu at the same time as airing it on ABC. I can't believe that in the year of our Lord, 2025, this is the first year they're doing that. But
That's crazy.
Conan O'Brien will host.
Yay! He's
That
good.
should be fun. Please.
Yes.
I enjoyed Nikki Haley. Is that who the name of the person was?
Glazer.
Nikki Glazer.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley. God, no, I did not enjoy Nikki Haley at all.
I just
Edit that out.
It sounds like a Disney Channel star. I'm like, wait,
She a musketeer. No, I thought she did a good job on the Golden Globes.
Yeah, I only watched parts of it, but I thought she was pretty funny.
You could tell, like, roasting is her thing, but in a fun way that was, like, gentle and loving and not really, like...
Yeah, not like the psychotic roast.
Yeah, the roasting was not a hard roasting.
Just
Yeah.
a gentle,
Just a gentle
light
roast
toast.
sauté.
Exactly.
Tonight we celebrate the best of film and hold space for television. Wicked, queer, Nightbitch. These are not just words Ben Affleck yells after he orgasms. These are some of the incredible movies nominated tonight. Tilda Swinton is, of course, nominated this year for her role as Timothée Chalamet. Hi, Timothy. You were great as Timothée Chalamet this year, too. And can I just say, you have the most gorgeous eyelashes on your upper lip. I think this is just such a good look. I love you.
They did announce a short list for 10 categories on the 17th. Documentary feature, short doc, international feature, makeup and hair, original score, original song, animated short, live action short, sound design, and visual effects. So I'm already aware of 2 subs that I'm kind of annoyed about because they weren't on the short list, but we'll get into that. Before we start talking about the movies, though, we're just itching to talk about the news that just dropped today. It's the talk of the town. The Brutalist used AI. A lot of people, myself included, are pretty pissed about it and think that it should be disqualified. What do y'all think?
I disagree.
Know the story.
They used AI to correct accents.
Yes.
Adrian
Yeah.
Brody's accent.
And Felicity Jones both speak English with a Hungarian accent. I heard Adrian Brody on a bunch of podcasts talking about how he studied his uncle and, like, added affectations. So he really worked on it. They both worked with dialect coaches. But I think what happened was that the editor is a native Hungarian speaker. And, he was just, like, annoyed, I'm sure. Personally annoyed. So what he did was he uploaded his own voice and then used AI to correct, quote unquote, The accent.
Wow. So
Like
that's
for the whole thing?
No. So I've read a couple articles about it. It wasn't necessarily their English with a Hungarian accent. It was that there's 2 points in the movie where they're reading letters in Hungarian.
Okay.
And those very specific moments, he said there's consonant sounds that if you aren't a native Hungarian speaker, it's like really hard for your mouth to even make the shape you need to make make those sounds.
Okay.
And so those moments were when they used the AI. Like they used him speaking to sort of enhance the Hungarian. And it was just like in those specific instances when they were reading those letters. And so that's why I don't think it should bear anything on their performance, because they're just like 4 minutes out of a 3-hour and 35-minute long movie, and the rest of it is really them. Unlike Emilia Pérez, which also used AI.
Yes, I just heard that right afterwards.
Yes.
For the singing.
Yeah, apparently they used AI to expand the range of Carla Sofia Gascon, the lead actress, which to me sounds like they used it throughout her whole performance. And the whole thing is a musical. So that takes away from her being able to claim that that performance is like hers and she deserves all the credit for it. It was very much like assisted.
Editor's note. This episode was recorded before Carla Sofia Gascon's extensive catalog of racist tweets were uncovered. Obviously, she doesn't stand a chance now, if she ever did. However, none of us really stood by the film in any capacity. The biggest loss here is what would have otherwise been an incremental step towards trans inclusion in the Oscars conversation.
Hey, these are Amy Green's Oscar thoughts. Let me tell you, I am overall underwhelmed by the nominations this year. Although they have been making up for it in the drama, especially all the Emilia Pérez drama. That was crazy. The stuff with, what's her name? What a crazy lady.
Do they need to get their permission to do
For
that?
The Brutalist, the director said it was sanctioned by Adrian Brody and Felicity Jones. I still am against the AI part of it because, you could get a voiceover actor to speak the Hungarian, you could get a sound editor who's really good at physically adding the vocals in. I know it was like a lower budget film, but it's a slippery slope, and if you start allowing these things, it's just going to happen more and more. People were singing, and they weren't like the best singers, but they were real, it's kind of a Les Mis verite singing style, and that was fine. It wasn't like, this is awful, I can't stand it, other than the fact that I think the songs are great. It wasn't the singing that bothered me. So I think it might have been more effective to have her sing to the best of her ability, or lower the song an octave or something to cater to her rather than be like, we'll fix it.
So I just rewatched the part where Zoe Saldana does El Mal, which I think is a fantastic song and should absolutely win, mostly because her performance in that specific moment in the film is like so riveting. But Carla does have some parts in that song as well, and I noticed she's not a great singer. So I'm like, wait, this is with AI? So maybe they were trying to thread the needle on enhancing it, but not so much that it's not sounding real. So let me ask you about the larger issue. AI is, of course, the technology of the moment that we're all sort of trying to figure out how it fits into art or not. But there are so many technology tools that are used in the making of a film. I mean, like editing uses technology. There's like digital stuff. There's CGI. Where I'm at today is AI is just another tool. And if that's a tool that they can use to enhance things and it's okay with the actors and it's okay with everyone involved, then I don't really know that I see the harm in it. And maybe it's just because it's new, we still haven't quite figured out if somebody uses AI, who gets the credit. Like, should Adrian Brody's whole performance be completely thrown in the garbage because of like 4 minutes? No, he was stunning in that movie. It was so good. And like the whole strike was a lot about AI and how it fits in. So
I guess I needed to read up on what they actually decided at the strike. I keep hearing about these things. There was the Ian Holm thing in Alien Romulus, which I found so upsetting, where they created an AI version of young Ian Holm. They had like a whole character that was him, and they said they got the permission of the Ian Holm estate, but that's not Ian Holm.
Right.
Like, did they ask him specifically? Like, unless he wrote in his will, it's okay to do this. It's not okay.
Right. Remember for a while, we were like having holograms of dead people.
I know, just thinking
right,
that, like the hologram of Michael Jackson. like,
Right.
dancing.
Yeah, it just seems fucked up.
Yeah, I think we haven't really figured out what the rules are yet. So everyone's sort of deciding for themselves, is this okay or is this not okay? And people don't agree on what that is.
Yeah.
But it does seem like it's coming up now. Whether it's acceptable or not, the fact that the conversation is happening, some people are going to suddenly feel less inclined to vote for Adrian Brody, right? Because they are going to feel like some of his performance wasn't really his, and so now they're going to want to select somebody else.
And I know CG is also a slippery slope in that regard, but I'm not against CG. I love it when practical effects are used, and I always find a film more endearing when they use practical effects. Still, people have to learn how to encode the CG. They have to train to do that stuff, and I don't know how exactly the AI is playing into it, but anytime I've seen an AI tool available, it's like push a button and it will do the thing for you.
And it's scary, just the sheer volume of what it can do. Like, in just 2 years, have gotten so much more sophisticated visually. It's gonna affect VFX in a big way. Like the new Severance episode, Adam Scott's running through these halls in the beginning, and like somebody used AI to replace him with Keanu Reeves. It looked seamless. And then Mark Zuckerberg says we're gonna replace software engineers with AI, and like we're gonna lose the people that have that actual knowledge, and we're not gonna be. Yeah. There's going to be no need to learn it. And then also, if you need to train the AI, we're not going to know how to even train it anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Good
I
point.
think the Severance thing is also an interesting point because I listened to Ben Stiller talk about how they shot that scene and they used all these different cameras and techniques and they really had to storyboard it out carefully and they had to do all this work to make that happen. And then someone else was like, here, I put Keanu Reeves in there. It's easy. I don't know. That seems like it's kind of shitting on the art a little bit. I assume that these things were done in accordance with those rules, but maybe they need to be tightened up or more specific or something. I don't know.
Also,
I'm just really worried about it.
I think it's fair to be worried about it. Why is the assumption that Timothée Chalamet, the next front runner, if it's not Adrian Brody? It should be Coleman Domingo who's getting the bump. This is the other thing that's making me mad about this story. I didn't think his performance was
that
the
story's probably
second best.
planted by his people. Or
There are whole teams working on this.
Is this like a smear campaign planted by another production company?
I would not.
It's to Leslie all over
surprised.
again.
Is this Conclave, but in real life with the Oscars?
I mean, I think that's why he's hosting SNL. I feel like that's like a chance for his people to get him. Like,
100%.
that press. He's probably gonna sing the Dylan songs.
SNL hosts almost always have something to promote. It's pretty rare. They're like, I'm here, but I don't have anything to promote. It does happen every once in a while.
It's like why they go on those shows. I liked A Complete Unknown. I thought it was an interesting movie. It was good. I thought everyone in it was really good.
I did not see it. Did you see that, Christina?
I kind of wanted to see it, and then I asked my sister, and she's like, yeah, not for me. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess it's not for me either.
Yeah.
Just because I was so on the fence about it.
Yeah.
The best thing about it for me was that I called my dad after seeing the movie, and we don't always have a lot to talk about, but I was asking him, do you remember when Bob Dylan was first coming on the scene? And it was kind of fun because he was like, I mean, I wasn't a folkie, so he was more into rock, but he remembers the electric set that Dylan played at the folk festival and like what a big deal it was. He was able to tell me stories from his youth related to it, so that was pretty fun. That was the angle that was cool. And I liked that he didn't try to do the Bob Dylan voice because that would have just been weird. And I liked Ed Norton. But in general, I feel like the whole film had that sort of subdued slice of life thing. Nothing really dramatic was happening.
Okay.
It sounds like James Mangold to me.
It is the kind of movie that usually would do well in an Oscar situation.
Yeah,
like,
they love biopics.
They love a
walk the line
biopic.
all over again, right?
They love when
Love like you do your own singing.
Yeah. Beauty Goes Ugly and a biopic. Those are the two things the Oscars love more than anything else.
I think what they love more than anything else is stuff about Hollywood. They love that the most.
And then
the things-
second.
As long as it's not too scathing.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right. Like, yay, movies are awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeping track of sort of the rankings, A Complete Unknown was hovering around A Real Pain, sort of like near the bottom. And now Complete Unknown's like way up at like number 5 or 6 or something. So it's kind of like jumped up on the Best Picture list.
This?
Gold Derby.
Gold Derby.
I used to look at Entertainment Weekly and Variety and Gold Derby and LA Times, do an amalgamation of what they all think to figure out what films to watch first.
Oh, nice.
But then it turns out that Gold Derby is already an amalgamation.
Oh, really?
So now I'm like,
You're doing
just
extra
go there.
work.
They give the odds, which is cool because you could tell whether a film is way ahead of everybody else and no one else does a chance, or if there's some action going on.
Still very scientific.
Yes. You can sort it to look at just the experts and what their picks are. You can look at the most frequent users of the Gold Derby website, or you could do like this combined version. There's been changes to the odds based on Golden Globe boost. Like Demi Moore has been like boosted way up from maybe not even making the top 5 to now being number 1. Like Mikey Madison was number 1 ever since Anora came out, and now she's number 2 and Demi Moore's number 1. So they're like, ooh, there's action happening. Right.
Yeah.
And then it helps me because if there's some films that I don't want to watch, I've been putting them off, and then I'm like, oh, thank God it's like in 8th place now. For a while, Angelina Jolie was ranking in that top 5, and I was like, oh, okay, but it's only nominated for that one thing, so I'll watch it later.
It was very long. It took me a few watches to finish.
How long is it?
It's like almost 3 hours, I think.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's beautiful, and there's some really great parts in it, but it would have been really long in the movie theater.
Who's the director on that?
Pablo Larraín.
He's the same guy who made Spencer.
Spencer, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I hated both of those movies, so I'm a hard pass.
I didn't see Jackie, but I didn't like Spencer.
Oh, yeah.
Jackie was like the same deal.
Yeah, that's kind of
She's
his
like
thing.
doing a Bane voice or something. It's so weird.
Oh,
I did not like Jackie.
The Bane voice.
Her voice is pretty weird. Like, it's probably accurate, but it's like, at what cost? I don't know. I don't often
What's the
like when people
Bane?
are doing a voice.
From like the third Nolan Batman movie, Tom Hardy is his character Bane, and he has a kind of a... should I even attempt it?
Oh, yeah, please,
Kind of like
please
this
do.
one. It's like really upbeat, but also very garbled and weird. Even though I love Tom Hardy, I was like, that's a choice. I don't know. We'll have to just drop it in.
Drop it in and then drop in Jackie.
Also, please keep in your version.
Who wore a dress?
And that last song, that last side of Cab, that is all that keeps running through my mind. Don't let it be forgot. That for one brief, shining moment, there was a Camelot.
There's a reason why this prison is the worst hell on earth. Hope. Every man who has rotted here over the centuries has looked up to the light and imagined climbing to freedom. So easy. So simple.
Of course, there would be great progress. And there would be other great presidents. There won't be another Camelot. Not another Camelot.
All right, well, let's get into talking about things we love, because that's
Okay.
always so fun. So what I want to do is we'll take turns naming a film off of our list, and if someone else has that film on their list, we'll all talk about it at that time.
Fun. All right, I'll start with A Real Pain.
All right. I have that as well.
That's on mine too.
Not you.
I have 2 blank spaces at the bottom of my top 10, and I can't decide what goes there. So maybe A Real Pain
Maybe
goes
A
there.
Real Pain.
I
All
don't
right, so
know.
it's in the conversation.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
I did
Not
like
like-
it. You're actually reminding me of another topic. People being nominated in categories where they don't belong.
Oh, yeah, the supporting
Oh,
actor
like,
fallacy.
Yes,
Yeah.
actors.
It is not.
They're
Kieran-
both leads. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is a
they
great-
are co-leads.
Great place to talk
Right.
about that. They're in every scene together.
Yeah.
In a weird way, he's the one the film is about more.
He's a real pain.
He's the
yeah.
titular.
Yeah.
He is. No, opening and the closing, it says A Real Pain right next to him. He is. I love him. But he's a pain. He would be such a pain in the neck to actually know and hang out with. But you would hang out with him. This movie was so up my alley. Like, I loved this movie and capturing how frustrating a person can be.
While also being lovable and like people being drawn to them and
But
wanting to like.
that's why he's
Yeah.
frustrating. You know, if it was just all the bad stuff about him, that's like not very frustrating. That's just, okay, I can't stand that guy. But for David, especially, to be like, you know, this is my cousin. We grew up together. I'm closer to him than anyone. And they had such a great relationship in so many ways, and they were so close and bonded. But also, Benji is so difficult. Like, he's such a hard person and a frustrating person, you know? Like,
Hello, boundaries.
it's so poignant to me when he's talking about, I would give anything to know what it's like to light up a room, and then you light up a room and then shit all over everything in it. And I'm like, David, I'm like, it's like Jesse Eisenberg be like,
Yeah.
you wrote a movie about how you definitively do not light up a room. You know,
Yeah.
like, There's such a tenderness for him for all of it.
I loved the part where they put the stone on the woman's doorstep, and then the guy who lives there yells at them. They're having this whole historic moment, and somebody who actually lives there is like, the lady who lives there is like old, and she might trip on the rock and hurt herself. And they're like, sorry.
Oh my god.
I like the way the son explains it too. He's like, it's a sweet gesture, I think, or something.
Yeah. Also, when the son first comes out to translate, and he's like, "You speak English?" and Benji's like, "A little." So you love Benji. He's so funny.
Yeah, he is really funny.
My favorite is the scene when the tour guide is saying goodbye to them, and he thanks Benji for like, no one's ever given me actionable feedback. He's like, "You're an honest man, and that's rare, and thank you." Bye, David.
I know. Poor David.
I know.
And he is such a sweet person too, but he's just filled with self-doubt and self-loathing.
Right, and also he doesn't have that ability to connect with people that Benji has,
Yeah. I think because he's so in his head about things like that.
His anxiety gets in the way. I really identified with both of them.
Yeah.
And it was, Benji, stop. Can't you see what you're doing to him? You're like messing up his whole vacation, And then the other parts, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm totally just like Benji sometimes.
In the beginning where he's trying to get a hold of Benji, you kind of learn like why he's so scared he's not going to make the trip. The frustrating part, having a relationship with this person.
It shows a lot in that scene too, because he's worked up, he's so anxious about Benji, like, don't be late, and the whole time Benji was already there. He got there an hour before he did.
Then why didn't you answer
the phone? Right.
Or,
That's what it shows so much that he's worrying for no reason, but also Benji's letting him worry for no reason.
That scene is a perfect setup for the movie and who they are as people. The whole rest of the movie, it is a really perfect setup.
Yeah.
Okay, I liked it.
Nice.
I'm Jewish, and there was a lot in that film that was impactful for me. Seeing them kind of go to Poland and visit concentration camp, and that was impactful. The Brutalist also has Jewish immigrant experience and escaping persecution as an influence in the movie.
The building that he was building was the concentration camp that he lived in. I thought that was pretty impactful at the end, where I was like, holy shit. Why would you want to do that? Men will literally build a concentration camp before they'll go to therapy.
Well, why isn't that therapeutic on its own, though?
Well, it didn't seem like it was. Wow. It could be, I guess, if you looked at it the right way, but instead it became this obsession that destroyed him. But a real pain. I totally could see myself in both of them, but more David than Benji for sure.
Okay, I felt like I didn't relate to either of them, but I'm afraid that I'm secretly like one, but I didn't feel like I related to either one of them.
Do you want us to tell you which one you are? Oh, I'm just kidding.
I don't feel like it's a binary, you're either a David or a Benji.
Yeah, I don't think there is a
if I related to anyone, maybe Jennifer Grey.
Or are you walking by yourself? Are you a big fucking loser?
Wait, that was Jennifer Grey?
Yes.
I didn't realize that was Jennifer Grey until you just said that. Wow.
I had that with her until she said it after the movie. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize that was Jennifer Grey.
I'm just generally very bad at that.
I'm usually good at that, but she is, master of illusion.
She changed her nose. She regrets it.
Yep.
She says that it ruined her career because no one knew who she was anymore.
Yeah. It didn't help.
Yeah. But she's still great. I think she was so
great
good in that.
Yeah, I loved her.
She was really great. Everyone in that movie. It was there was an ensemble vibe to the whole tour group.
Yeah, totally.
God, when they missed their stop on the train. That happened to me one time. It's really not fun.
Yeah.
But it led to some great adventures, so kind of cool in the end, I guess.
Christina has a missed train story too. Or no, the train separated on you.
Oh yeah, that's what happened to me. I was in the wrong half.
No. We were with a group of people from school, and there wasn't room for us in the same car, so another girl and I went to the very end car, and then in the middle of the night it split. One half of the train went into Spain and the other one went north in France.
Wait, where were you trying to go?
We were trying to go to Spain. I don't know what happened. We waited. We thought they have to come through here. I guess they didn't. So we waited for 15 hours at the station and just ate Snickers bars and stuff. It was crazy.
That's like what happened to me, and they tell you about that before you travel in Europe. They're like, make sure you get in the right half of the train because the train might split. So I went to go get into the non-smoking car in Naples on my way down to Sicily, and I was trying to go to the north coast of Sicily to go to the Aeoli Islands. I had to catch a ferry there. And there was somebody standing in the doorway of the non-smoking car smoking, and I was like, dude, this is the non-smoking car. He was like, whatever, who cares? In Italian. He probably just like made a hand gesture. And so then I was like, went to another car. And then at some point in like the pitch black night, I was like, why do I feel like we're turning to the left? We should be turning to the right. And sure enough, I end up in the middle of what seems like absolutely nowhere in a train station in the middle of the night by myself. It was a little scary. All these guys, are you by yourself? I'm like, no, my cousin's waiting for me over there by the bathroom. But what was cool is that where I ended up was right across the bay from Mount Etna, and Mount Etna was erupting.
Wow.
And when somebody was pointing out, like, did you see Mount Etna? And I was like, no, where is it? And I was kind of like looking in the distance, and then they point practically right above us. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like right there. I would not have gotten to see that if that didn't happen. So in the end,
There you go.
That's
I didn't
really
die,
cool.
and it was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. How many people get to see an erupting volcano? Not many.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
I just wanted to add that I really learned to love Jesse Eisenberg. He's someone that I've always had trouble with over the years because he always plays these repugnant people and he does it really well. After we saw this movie, I was like, oh my god, I love him so much in this movie, and he wrote this movie. It's obviously straight from the heart. And I kept listening to him in interviews and I was like, oh my god, maybe I'm a lot like Jesse Eisenberg. And then he said something that was so resonant. The reason I like to play so many repulsive people is because it's how I exercise my own self-loathing.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh
Jesse.
my god.
Art as therapy.
I know.
I think A Real Pain will be on the top 10. I think it'll get nominated for Best Picture.
I think so too.
And Kieran, I feel like he's the shoo-in giveaway, absolutely going to win for Best Supporting Actor. I would be so shocked if anyone else won.
Yeah, he does seem like the
He
favorite.
did get the Golden Globe.
And I
hope
think
that
it'll-
it gets original screenplay as well.
Yeah.
I have one that I like that is not in any kind of discussion in the Oscar space at all, which is Ghostlight.
I
don't
don't know
even
anything
know what
about
you're talking
that.
about.
Yeah, it's like about a family that's going through a really difficult time. And I won't give away what it is because you find out at the very end. But they're going through a difficult time, and the dad is a construction worker, foreman, and he ends up getting involved in community theater and sort of like finding community and like finding a way to express his emotion. It sort of creates these weird ripples in the family. It's just like a really cool story about them as people, and there's a lot of dialogue that I thought was really good. And I believe that the actors in the film are mostly amateur actors, or maybe they're actually related. Like, I think he was the star, and then they got his family members to like play his family members.
Is
But
he like the writer director as well?
no, but the director wanted him to be in it. I saw it this summer, and I was like, everyone needs to see this movie. It really needs to win an Oscar. It's ranked like 89th on the top
wow.
96 list,
I've
you know? So
literally
it's like,
heard nothing
Yeah,
about
it
it.
sounds like a
Yeah.
little bit familiar.
oh, and I cried my eyeballs out at the end. Like, I literally couldn't leave the theater. I was crying too hard.
Oh man.
I was embarrassed. Like, I was like, I think I need to leave. These people are trying to clean up. And so then I just went into the bathroom and cried some more. It was a lot.
Oh my god.
I loved that movie.
My favorite movie of this last year was The Substance.
Yeah.
And I just
I've got that one.
freaking love that movie. I love the look of it and all of the cast. It really resonated with me. And Demi Moore's acceptance speech is so good.
30 years ago, I had a producer tell me that I was a popcorn actress, and I made that mean that this wasn't something that I was allowed to have, that I could do movies that were successful, that made a lot of money, but that I couldn't be acknowledged. And I bought in, and I believed that. I've done what I was supposed to do. I had this magical, bold, courageous, out-of-the-box, absolutely bonkers script come across my desk called The Substance. And the universe told me that you're not done.
I loved how disgusting it was.
Yeah.
And Coralie Fagiat, she's awesome, and I hope she gets to do more cool movies like this. And Margot Crawley was great too.
I don't think she's ever missed for me. I first heard about Coralie Fagiat when she did Revenge, which was like 2019 or 18. It was a while ago. And I was like, this is one to watch. And then I didn't hear anything from her until The Substance. But I'm really glad that she was sitting on this one. I think she did such a good job sort of honoring her obvious influences, but still making it her own vision. And I think her wheelhouse is kind of disgusting fairy tale logic stories about women. So there's body horror, there's like fantastical elements. You know, the logic is kind of dreamlike logic. We are going to do an episode on this, so we won't go too deep into it, but it shows up, you get this video, you don't know anything about where it came from other than what you see in the movie if we're going to this being John Malkovich warehouse, I don't even know what you would call it. And I thought Demi was so great, and I read her memoirs after I saw this, and she wrote it in 2019, and she ends it saying, like, I hope that I get to act again someday.
Oh, wow.
So I'm so glad that she did get to act again, and she got to do this role that's unlike anything I've ever seen from her. I mean, it's just so raw and emotional and real. And I have a snub for this because it didn't make the short list for sound design, which is like half of the movie for me was the sound design. Like there's so much crunches, and you hear the needle go in, you hear the squirt, you hear the extraction sounds, just so much about sound and emotion tied to sound.
Dennis Quaid eating the shrimp.
Oh, he was so gross.
He was so disgusting.
Ugh. So I have no idea how that got missed on
Yeah, good point. I had to cover my eyes at some parts because I'm like a baby when it comes to horror. When you were describing it as like the dreamlike logic, that is this quality that I was trying to put words to in the film. One of the things I loved about it, I was describing it to someone and I was like, well, it's not really until the last half hour that you realize that it's like wildly not real. You know? I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious it's not real from the beginning, right? Like the whole thing is based on something that can't possibly be real, but it doesn't feel like that until the end, and then it amps it up. It sort of sucks you into the like believing the unbelievable, and then you're like there for it, and then at the end it just goes like a bunch of blood spewing everywhere. And it just goes totally like wild, and you're like, oh my god. Anyway,
I love that it just kind of went ham.
It just totally went ham.
I do too.
I loved it. I loved the like putting the earrings on. Like, where are you even putting those earrings?
She had to pick a hole.
I was so right.
Too many holes to choose from.
Yeah. Also, like, showing up and everyone's like, where have you been? We've been waiting for you.
I know how far
like,
she
how
gets
did you
with that
not?
mask on her face, like askew, and she's walking down the hall.
There's just so many points where I think you're going along with something that is just so unreasonable, but you're, like, sucked into the reality of it.
Yeah.
I can't decide how I feel about when they describe older women playing older women as brave, but I feel like Demi Moore's performance was brave.
Yeah.
I think being an older woman in Hollywood, admitting that you're an older woman is brave. But also, it's a theme this year because also Babygirl had a similar older woman.
And Last Showgirl, too.
And Last Showgirl. Theme of the year.
I have a question. So I liked The Substance fine, but I don't have love for it. When you say it resonated with you, like, in what way?
She tries to terminate the substance agreement, and then it seems like Sue's down for the count, and then she's like, no, you're the lovable part of myself, or whatever. And I love how towards the end, Demi Moore's just been so decimated by, like, the balance going off. There's a couple parts where she's just like, fuck off, you know? She had to get to this point for that to happen. Women and beauty standards, I mean, that's like tale as old as time, but her life has value outside of being Elizabeth Sparkle. And she still goes, even though she's kind of a mutant. Elisa Sue at the end.
Monster Eliza Sue.
Yeah. She's still gonna have that moment. Older women kind of get ignored or kind of invisible, I guess. I just like that she was just like, fuck off towards the end of it.
I had such a different reaction to the end. There were parts that resonated for me because I can relate to having to accept the way your appearance changes as you get older, and a really high amount of loneliness in her life. Like, there's never any other people in her home visiting her. She's just so lonely. It's like, how did that happen? Like, doesn't she have friends? What's going on? The thing that I keep thinking about is how, even though it's like literally destroying her current health taking her life force away.
Yeah.
She can't let go of the accolades and the attention. It's like she's addicted to it. Their focus on her beauty is minimizing her as a human being, and maybe she's just bought into it so completely that she thinks that's all she's worth. But if that's what's going to take for her to get that like hit of adoration, like she's willing to deal with all of that in order to get the adoration again.
Yeah,
you know?
There was definitely an addiction metaphor, I think. The needles were a big part of that. Like, I don't think it's an accident that she needed so many needles to do the process.
Yeah, I can see that, right? There's like the person you are when you're using, or how you see yourself versus when you're not.
Yeah.
There was like a little bit of a sad element to me.
Yeah.
And it made me think a lot. So even though that wouldn't necessarily be a film that I was like, I loved it, it was great, but it was one that I still think about.
I liked how Sue even comes out all confident and everything, but then her confidence starts getting shaken as well. She gets to a point of desperation, and then kind of the most confident version of them is Monstro Eliza Sue. But she still is chasing the fame. She's chasing the adoration, and I think it's pretty poignant that the last shot is her face melting into her star on the Walk of Fame, right?
And then they just mop her up the next day.
Yeah.
So that one touches on that Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood. Because that movie was definitely
absolutely.
about Hollywood.
We will see if, because it
And
might be a little too scathing.
Right. And beauty goes ugly. They love that. So it was like 2 out of the 3 favorite tropes.
They
the
love
Academy
that,
loves.
but the indictment is that Hollywood makes people do this thing. So I don't know how much they're going to like that, but we'll see.
I mean, I think it'll make the top 10 best pictures, and I would like to see best director, because otherwise we will have the all-male nominees again. So I would...
And here are the all-male nominees.
Well, unless the director of Babygirl gets nominated also. I'll bring up Babygirl then. I assume it's on Amy's list too. Yeah, it's kind of a tie for me. Favorite movies of the year between The Substance and Babygirl, and they do have similar themes. I think Babygirl has a much happier ending. I think she really does come to accept herself at the end, which is nice. Especially in light of the fact that from the outside, it seems like she lost everything. But
she doesn't
she
lose
didn't
anything.
Really
That's what I love. I love that that's the threat throughout the movie is like, I could make you lose everything. I don't want to do this. Everybody finds out what happened, and she kept everything. Now she has it all.
I love when she tells that guy off.
I was just going to say that.
That is such a wonderful scene.
So there were things I liked about this movie, and there were things I didn't like. I wanted more heat. Like, I felt like it just wasn't hot enough for me. I needed it to be hotter. But I did love the parts of the movie that were about how different generations handle conversations about what you want or in like consent. Like, I'm about the same age as Nicole Kidman. So it's like this generation, you didn't really talk about what you wanted. You maybe like subtly hint about it or like hope that you get it. But, you know, seeing her struggle so much with just being able to literally say out loud, yes, I want this. That was, to me, like the most amazing part of the film. How that evolved for her to be able to say what she wants. What a big struggle that was for her. And how he was totally like, what's the problem here? Like, this is what it should be, you know?
There's this part where she has a sheet over her head and she asks her husband, want to watch porn or something.
Yeah.
Because she can't, like, basically she can't look at him and ask for what she
Right,
wants.
yeah.
And I thought that was such an interesting contrast between her job self, where she doesn't have any trouble asking for what she wants. She can be the boss bitch all day long, but then when it comes to things that are personal and taking care of herself, self-love stuff, basically, that's where she's like, I can't ask.
Well, I also think an element to that I really like in this movie, because I feel like what she wants is to be dominated, you know, and when that's what you want, you sort of don't always want to say that because you want the other person to be dominating, you know, and like, I don't want to tell you what to do because I want you to be telling me, but you can't just psychically intuit that. But I feel like that's definitely something that's going on with her.
Yeah.
Well, that's like all she wants. Like, it's not this like deep BDSM stuff happening. The one thing I think is kind of silly is when he's like, should we have a safe word? It's like, for what? Right.
Right. That's a good
But
point.
fine, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like they had such a good time together when they were together.
They did.
I really liked
I
that.
thought it was so great. I thought the rave scene was so joyful.
Yeah,
I really liked how she has all these opportunities to dance before that scene, and she's always like, no, I can't do it, and everyone's dancing and having a good time, and then she comes in this like business suit basically, and,
know.
and
Tie
then he
around her
helps
neck.
her, you know, maybe it's an obvious metaphor, but he helps her like loosen her tie and just loosen up, and so much better for her when she does that. I mean, I guess it's kind of like a manic pixie dream boy in a way that he like knows what she wants. I don't know that many people in that generation, so maybe that is just how a lot of them are, but it seems like kind of a unique skill that he is able to be like, I can tell that this is what you want, but you have to say it, you know? Whereas her husband's like, nah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Antonio Banderas, like in a role where he's not the hottest thing ever. It's kind of unusual for him.
Well, he's not the hottest thing. He just doesn't know how to give her what she wants because she doesn't know how to ask for it.
He's
And
like
it's also
so
not his
emotionally
thing, though.
available.
Like,
you know?
That's part of why she has her face covered. It's like, I feel like a villain. You know?
Yeah.
This isn't really his thing, you know?
And maybe it's that generation. I keep saying that generation, like it's not my generation.
I mean, he's older, isn't he?
Maybe a little
was
bit.
like-
I mean,
like
she's
60s,
older than me too,
60s.
but well, so what are they then? Generation Jones?
I never
That's
have
like
heard
the
of this.
micro generation in between the boomers and Gen X.
Whoa, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Where's that
heard
name
that.
come from?
I'll have to look it up.
Editor's note. From Wikipedia. Generation Jones consists of people born between the years 1955 and 1964 who were young adults in the 1980s. The people who inherited an optimistic outlook but then were confronted with a different reality as they entered the workforce during the Reagan years. The name refers to the concept of quote-unquote keeping up with the Joneses. Nicole Kidman is an elder Gen X, born in 1967. Antonio Banderas is Generation Jones, born in 1960.
A lot of like what they learned about him trying to be a feminist. It's like this generation's definition of being a feminist.
Yeah.
Like domination is not cool. Like we're supposed to be strong women to like do all the things. And so he's learning how to be a feminist guy. He's like very emotionally available and he doesn't want to feel like a villain. He doesn't want to feel like he's dominating her. Now things have evolved to a place where it's like you can want what you want.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like
Totally.
whatever that is, as long as everyone agrees and you're consensual and you're putting it out there, it's okay.
Right.
It's kind of evolved a lot.
Right.
It's
I like when
really
he
cool.
tells him, like, you have a dated view of sexuality.
Yeah.
And he has a full-on panic attack because he can't believe it.
Yeah, that was wild. I did really like that whole fight scene. And I also really loved that I can't remember that character's name.
Samuel, yes.
Samuel. Yeah, he's doing that like post-Dom comfort moment. Like with the husband,
Yeah.
you know, like yeah, the
aftercare.
aftercare, exactly. I was like the aftercare, like with the husband too, like talking him down, you know.
Yeah.
It's like-
A lot of people who dom also call themselves empaths, and that's definitely something that is a good quality. Having a read on what the other person wants and needs from you.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it so much.
It was another movie with cool themes, older women and
Yeah.
society and expectations and reality, and we were like sort of trapped in a lot of ways, even when we think we're liberated.
Yeah.
And
I
then
love-
really actually getting liberated.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that Nicole Kidman was phenomenal. I think she's
She's so
always
good.
really good, but she just blew me away. Like every single choice she makes, every facial expression, everything she does with her body.
Yeah.
I basically just had like chills the whole time I watched the movie. I saw it twice, and both times I was just like, this is so good. This is a perfect movie. Everybody's killing it. I love all the shots. I love the direction. I love the way the camera shoots orgasms. So good. I mean, I want her to get Best Actress.
Yeah.
I don't know how likely that is, but that's my dream.
Yeah.
That she gets a Best Actress award for this movie. And I definitely want the director whose name I will learn, I swear to God.
No, Helena?
She's Dutch, yeah.
Helena Rain.
That's it. I want her to get a Best Director nom.
The funny thing about that movie is that I went and saw it in Port Townsend on Sunday.
Oh.
And I went to the Rose Theater, which is my favorite movie theater. And I saw it in the Starlight Room. Maybe 16 of us in there. And everyone else was full on white hair, 70s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a couple of people, when they left, they were just so shocked. But I had like a funny chat with the lady who was sitting next to me during the movie, who was also there by herself. And it was just
What did she think?
She just was kind of like, I think I've seen enough of Nicole Kidman without her clothes to last me a lifetime. You were just like,
Disagree.
how is that possible?
Let her cook.
What they were expecting, but it was like a 1 o'clock showing.
I mean, the trailer kind of lets you know what you're in for.
Yeah.
You should be expecting a movie about sex.
Yeah.
And you're going to see some butts. And they're going to be good butts. Like, what's the complaint here?
Right.
Any other thoughts about Babygirl? We're going to do an episode on that as well, I think.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I think the only other one that we haven't talked about that is maybe a contender is Queer. I also I saw the TV Glow, but I don't feel like that's really... Like, let's talk about that as opposed to Emilia Pérez, you know?
Well,
like,
should we talk about that now? Because that's also on my list. I saw
Yeah.
the TV Glow.
Okay, yeah.
Because it is one where I'm like, I know it's not going to be there. I'm not expecting to
it's not
see
in
it,
the
but
conversation at all, but...
I really wish it were.
Right. And especially I feel like this Emilia Pérez movie is a movie for people who want to feel like they watched something about trans people. Good for me. I watched that movie about the trans lady, you know. And I saw the TV Glow as the movie for trans people and trans allies.
Yeah. I have a lot of issues with Emilia Pérez, but we'll get to that. But yes, I mean, speaking of sound design, I think Jane Schoenbrun's sound desigin is insane. It's so good. I think Justice Smith is one of the most underrated young actors we
I know.
have.
I was like, I can't even think about it. I'm like, it's so devastating, you know.
It's so beautiful. I mean, it's subtle, but like obvious, you know?
Right.
You know what it's about, but like you said, no one turns to the camera and says, this is what's happening, you know? It's basically the most powerful dysmorphia metaphor I can think of.
So good, yeah.
Especially, you know, I know Jane Schoenbrun in particular was raised by TV and that kind of thing. I think she's a little younger.
Editor's note: writer-director Jane Schoenbrun uses they/them pronouns.
I mean, I was definitely raised by TV too, but I think even more so early online stuff. It's just like pop culture and TV were your best friend, your babysitter, your parent, like everything. I think that's evident in this movie, and it's like a love letter to that stuff and how it gets you through some shitty times, and especially when your parents can't provide any of that for you. Ugh, it's such a beautiful movie.
Yeah, and also I feel like it says something to when you're a teenager and for whatever reason you can't be who you really are, but somebody can at least give you the language for it or show you that it's possible, you know, and it breaks me. I mean, I always want it to just end when it says there is still time, you know, like, I mean, but it's also a good reminder that some people live like that forever, you know, like the scene where he's screaming when he's like, I'm dying. Nobody, I know. And I know.
Powerful.
I know.
You guys saw that movie?
That was on my list of
I mean, it's not
movies
gonna...
I think are probably good, but I couldn't squeeze it in. I want to see it.
I think it's too good and too real to be an Oscar contender, but it is one of the best movies of the year. Probably my third favorite movie of the year. Ugh.
So if you happen to have like a trans teenager at home, it might hit home a little bit. Yeah, that movie is just devastating, but also so good.
I mean, it's definitely about trans body dysmorphia, but you could also put other sorts of identity crises. It's just about not being yourself because society tells you.
Or because you're not allowed to be.
Or you're not allowed to be. And
you're not able to risk being that, you know.
Yeah, the metaphor of you have to die to be reborn.
Right. And like he has an opportunity, I'm leaving, let's go. I mean, you can also just see it as about like coming out or something, you know. Some people aren't able to because of what it would cost them, you know, and they make that decision on their own, but it's still such a sacrifice, you know. Oh, God, it's so good. I'm like, it's like pressing on a bruise to watch that movie, but it's so good. But that's like, kind of every time I hear anything about Emilia Pérez, I just want to swap it out. You know, like that's the good movie that's about being trans, you know, made by an actual trans person. Right?
Well, that is how I felt about Will and Harper.
Yeah.
Because people are saying Emilia Pérez feels like a movie about the trans experience made for cis people. But in Will and Harper, it's talking about a specific person's experience as a trans woman in her own voice. And like that is much more needed and interesting. I really liked that movie.
That's on my list as well.
Nice
I think Will and Harper is mostly for cis people, but it is a very good representation of Harper's experience. I mean, everybody has a different experience. And I love that she calls out, you know, not everyone's going to have a famous best friend to help them in all these situations. And I like that Will Ferrell did that because he is kind of like a crossover comedian in a way. Like,
Yeah.
in the South, they were like, Ricky Bobby.
Right.
People in the South love that movie. Yeah, I think it's so beautiful, too, because she's in her 60s. And I just love that message of it's not too late, right?
Right.
And that's such an important message. Because if you feel like it's too late, then it's like, well, I might as well die. Which is what she says. She says, like, I either had to do this or die.
Right. I remember there's a part where they go to a really desolate place Harper had bought.
Yeah.
Some kind of rundown.
Oh,
place.
right.
A shitty house
And
in, like, the
she's
middle of
like,
nowhere.
This is where I was gonna go. It's heartbreaking. I really like that movie as well.
That is on the short list for a documentary feature, which I'm glad about.
Nice.
I hope it makes the final 5.
Also, for a while, the song was in like the top 5, but it's like getting
Kristen
pushed down.
Wiig song?
Yeah.
That
Oh,
so
that
cute.
would be so great if she got an Oscar.
Oh my gosh, if she got to perform at the...
Oh my god,
I
that
Even just to reform.
Yeah.
So great.
I know, I
she
would
doesn't need
love
to
that.
win performing her original song.
Denise.
I see some themes this year that were really interesting. And one of the themes is movies about trans characters or the trans experience. And it does seem like films that were about a trans woman's experience in her own voice, which is Will and Harper, no love. I Saw the TV Glow, no love. But, you know, films that are a cis person's perspective and problematic, that seems to be the preferred presentation of the trans experience. So that's disappointing, of course, and also not surprising because I think a lot of times the Academy is disappointing. We can either talk about Thelma or we can talk about Sing
Oh
Sing.
gosh, Thelma. I forgot about that movie.
Oh my god, me too.
I loved that movie
I like
so
that movie a lot,
much.
yeah.
I didn't see it. I
was-
need to. I forgot. It wasn't in the conversation.
No.
Yeah.
As far as my top 10 films, do I think it is the top 10 most well-made Oscar-worthy film? No. Was it the film I enjoyed the most?
It's very
yes,
enjoyable,
it was
yeah.
very enjoyable.
That was not nothing.
Yeah. And I love that June Squibb is 90-something years old and it's
Yeah.
her first starring role. And I really wanted her to get nominated because I like that story arc for her in her career. I just enjoyed a lot of things about it. It was very silly and cute and fun. It made me happy.
Yeah, that's a fun movie. I went and saw it by myself at Seattle 10. Maybe it was the beginning of summer because we usually see
Summer.
movies together.
Yeah,
so
there was
it's-
something.
There was some reason
I
that
couldn't go.
Yeah.
I was planning on going to see it the next week or something in the theater, but then it just
It doesn't hurt that I saw it at the Starlight.
Ooh, check it out.
Makes all movies better automatically.
One of my favorite movies, I went to see it with Amy, was Between the Temples.
That's on my list too.
And that
see
was
that.
such a sweet movie. I just loved the relationship that Jason Schwartzman and Carol Kane had.
Yeah.
The rapport
It was just, it was so
so
great.
delightful.
I don't know, it just seemed like regular people, slice of life. And then I loved Bird too.
I really liked
that
Bird.
was
I was
cute.
surprised how
Really
good that
sweet.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely not even remotely in the conversation.
It's not, but I really liked that.
Yeah.
And Good One. Remember we
Yeah,
saw
that was really good.
That was-
It was such a good year for movies. There were so
Right.
many good movies. I read a really accurate Letterboxd review of Between the Temples. It's Harold and Maude for people whose favorite Coen Brothers movie is A Serious Man.
That is interesting.
Very accurate.
I thought a lot
yeah.
about that. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if A Serious Man is my favorite Coen movie, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there. And I love Carol Kane. I've always loved her. Ever since I was a kid, watching Scrooge on TV.
Oh. Right. When I was a kid,
what
she was
40-year-old reference do you have that you watched?
No, mine is from before that. Like, when you're a kid and she was Simca on Taxi. She was Andy Kaufman's wife on Taxi.
And she looks the same, basically.
No, she's so great.
She's had that same fairy face this whole time, and her voice is amazing.
Apparently, a lot of people told her voice was going to keep her from succeeding. It's such a singular...
It makes everything she says funnier. You know?
I know, yeah, it really does.
Yeah. She was the babysitter in When a Stranger Calls.
Yeah.
She's like, so like the call is coming from inside the house. Like, that's to her, right?
Wow.
Like,
the call is coming to Carol Kane
from inside the house. Piece of cinematic history there.
She's always great, but I also feel like Jason Schwartzman did such a good
him.
job, and I always like him too. But he was especially good in this. It really worked for me.
He can do anything. I mean, like, think of like that movie and Queer.
He was so good.
And his bit in The Last Showgirl. Like, three such totally different performances, right?
Totally.
He has a small part in that. I loved it. Dax liked it as a friend, I would say. Right?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
Logan and I loved it, though. It really got to us.
Is that on your list?
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, let's talk about that one.
I mean, from when I have always loved Pamela Anderson. She is a goddess. I was so happy for her to she's so cool, right?
And she has such a cute voice too.
She does. Yeah. Like, it got us in such a good conversation after, because what we saw it as was she was in this Vegas show, like the last of the old-timey Vegas showgirl show for like 30 years. And she loved it. And she loved being in it. Like, it was a passion for her. And like along the way, she had a child, and she, as she said, like did the best she could, but she had a job where she like worked every night. And in the movie, her child is grown up now and graduating college. So what happened was eventually her kid became friends with someone who had a more stable home life, and eventually that family basically adopted her, and she still had a relationship with her, but didn't really end up raising her child. And her daughter like goes and actually watches the show, and she's like, this is what you gave me up for. Was it really worth it? She's like, this is like this shitty, cheesy, it's not hard dancing. And she's like, well, we make it look easy. What I liked about it is you see stories of men not really doing a lot of parenting because they dedicated themselves to their art. You see stuff about artists and their passion, and I feel like what this was saying is it's still meaningful and passionate to you even if the art itself isn't great. You know, like that was something that I really liked about it. Like when she's like, was it worth it? And you feel like she doesn't want to flat out say yes it was, but you know, she sort of stands by all the decisions that she made, you know.
She does later say, I have no regrets.
Right. And like her friend who's like the dad who never did anything, you know, but he's like, you could have gotten a different job, you could have worked retail, you could have worked in the day. Right. And she's like, you don't get to say anything, but also that she didn't give up her passion for her child. I thought it was sort of like brave storytelling in that way. And she was just so great.
Yeah, my favorite thing about it was, like you were saying, how we see all these stories about these artistic men, fathers who were like, well, I didn't mean to have a kid, so I'm going to ignore it. You know? I want to see more movies where moms didn't want to be moms.
Or even like don't define themselves by being a mother.
Yeah.
Like that's something Logan and I talk about a lot. I feel like I've been a pretty good mom, but I also don't feel like that's the first way I would describe myself. Like in relation to another person. Like, is the first thing you would describe yourself as a wife or a daughter, you know? Like, same, like, I don't define myself by being a mother. It's obviously a big part of my life, but I don't feel obligated to be like, that's who I am first and foremost, you know?
Yeah.
It's a relationship.
Right,
basically.
right.
Have any of you seen Nightbitch?
Yes.
Because this is where this conversation is taking me, is Nightbitch was about that too, right? An artist giving up her art to be full-time mom and like losing her identity to the momness part of her, and just sort of how she comes back from the abyss. I mostly thought of you guys when I watched it because I was remembering how The Lost Daughter and how you loved it so much, and I was like, I hated it so much.
My God.
And I felt like it was this movie that you related to it because of your experience being moms, you know, and it was like, I can't relate to it. on that level or whatever. But I was curious about your take on Nightbitch. I thought it was really interesting. I don't know if that is a stereotypical mom experience, but I learned a lot about.
It's just a mom experience. Like,
Yeah.
There are people that probably can relate directly to it, and other people can relate to aspects of it. But that was one of my favorite things about The Lost Daughter, was the same thing, where she was just like, why is it not okay for me to follow my passion because I have kids? And she keeps talking to these men who are like, oh yeah, I have kids, but I see them at Christmas, blah, blah, blah. No one's asking them where their kids are. Why aren't your kids with you?
Right. Or even like, how do you juggle it all? You know, like...
Yeah.
I think like a couple of months ago when I was first making my list of things that are getting some discussion, you know, Amy Adams was in the running for a nomination for that, but she's since fallen out of the conversation. Yeah, I thought that film wasn't what I was expecting. I kind of was into it.
I felt like it was like a little bit messy, and I feel like the ending is like
the ending
pretty
was
sappy. Like,
There was too much voiceover for me.
Yeah, but there was a lot I liked about it. You know, and it made me think a lot about identity and parenthood, and you know. Like, I didn't relate to it, really. I don't feel like a loss of identity from having kids. For me, at least, like, your identity shifts throughout your life. Like, I definitely feel like I'm a different person from who I was 18 years ago, but I don't feel like that's a loss of who I was before I had kids or something.
Yeah.
Do you feel like having kids influenced how you changed in the last 18 years?
Oh, totally, yeah. But I think I would have changed still.
Right, maybe in a different direction than where you ended up.
In the beginning, like the first few years, it seems like so hard and so much of your time.
That is when I felt the most.
It seems like
a
very
loss
acute,
of identity, and
yeah.
it's definitely not that way now. They can take care of themselves in a lot of ways. They can do a lot of things. It's definitely like the Tully years. Like Tully was so real to me for that specific time. You're like the machine that makes the baby live, and that's all you are for a long time. So like go off to school and start learning things and forming their own identities and personalities and lives, and it's just such a given to so many people of like, oh yeah, of course you're gonna do that. That's what being a mother is, and that's what you signed up for and all this. That's true, but you can still acknowledge that there's a loss there, or, you know, some grief about the change if you have it. Or if you don't have it, that's also fine. But, like, there just shouldn't be as much expectation put on that period of time as there is, I think.
I had a pretty easy time with the early years. I mean, one, I came to it from having worked with kids for years, you know, and worked with babies and toddlers specifically, you know, so it's like, I'd only have one and not 11 of them. Right?
This is easy.
And I had freakishly easy children. But even having said that, the first year, like, I would see people with older kids and I'd be like, how did you survive? Like, how did you do that? Even though I wasn't having a hard time, it still felt impossible in a way, you know? Like, it was fine, but, like, obviously that's a sacrifice in a different way, you know?
Yeah.
I want to talk about The Brutalist.
Okay.
It was one of those ones where I was like, oh, God. It's a movie about an architect? This sounds so boring. How do they make this 3.5 hours? That doesn't sound interesting, but it's actually very personal and yet also very epic immigration story of like the immigrant experience in America. And I loved it. I thought the acting was really great. I thought the pacing was really good and it didn't feel long to me. Like I think it just moved at a good pace. Really good acting, interesting immigrant experience theme, who belongs and who doesn't. One of my favorite scenes is when they go to the marble quarry is like clearly somebody that Laszlo knows, and the guy has like been there this whole time, like even during the Franco regime, saying, you know, we like lured fascists into the quarry and then like killed them here. You know, the juxtaposition of the rich American dude who's just like, look at this marble, it's so pretty. And then the guy who lives there being like, we've lived here this whole time. We stayed here throughout all that horrible stuff and the persecutions and also like led the bad guys here and killed them. And there was like blood on the marble. That was such a powerful scene to me. And it was a really short moment when he was explaining that. And then Laszlo is this character who's bridged both of those worlds. It was kind of almost like my favorite thing in the movie.
Yeah. I really like the immigrant experience aspect of it too. The lie of the American dream, you know?
Yeah.
When it seems like he's in a privileged position of having this rich benefactor, but actually it's like the worst thing that ever happened to him, you know?
Right.
But it's like so precarious, right? It's like in the beginning, he's got this guy who's probably, his cousin, I think? Ends up getting his American cousin, and he ends up getting thrown out because his cousin's wife wants to get rid of him and like makes up lies that he made a pass at her. He's very dependent on that person, and he's like putting his trust in that person in, even after coming out of a life experience where probably it's like really hard for him to have any trust. Who knows? Maybe he didn't put trust in it. Maybe he was just wary the whole time.
Didn't have a choice, really.
Yeah, he didn't have a choice, and then he gets thrown out from there, and then he like trusts these other people, and like that obviously was a bad idea. Like it was really just feeling for how precarious it is, but like still trying. Kind of perseverance aspect was really cool. I also really liked the discussion that they had as a family, like this sort of backdrop of the United Nations voting to create Israel as a country. And part of the family is like, we're going to go. And then they're like, no, we don't want to go. I thought that was really interesting. What were the forces here that were sort of driving people to want to go, which is like, we're not wanted here. Like we weren't wanted in the other place. We're not wanted here. Nobody wants us anywhere. There's literally one place where we could go where we're actually wanted. Especially like how that is being experienced by Jews in the United States now, to just kind of sort of see how very much has changed. To be like 1 minute you belong and the next minute you don't.
Yeah, well, you belong as long as you're doing something for a rich person, right?
Yeah.
And then when they're done with you, they just want you gone.
Yeah, and also just how often in this country when people see immigrants doing menial labor jobs and think that's who that person is, you know, they're a brain surgeon, you know,
oh my God.
or like a rocket scientist.
Totally.
You know?
That's so fucked up. Yeah, it made me remember this tow truck guy that had a flat tire. I don't even remember how it came up. He was like, I was a veterinarian in Mexico. And I came here and they were like, your degree doesn't translate. And I'm like, why the fuck not? Like, are animals different there? What?
Different animals.
Bizarre, right?
It's so fucking dumb.
It's so
and
dumb.
It is a lie. Like, they show up and the Statue of Liberty's there and they're like, welcome everybody. And also get out of here as soon as you can. And we don't really want you here. But like, it wasn't even ours to begin with.
Yeah. It's a lie for everybody. Like, I think that's the part. It's like not just a lie for the immigrants. It's a lie for all of us. Unless you are born with money, the whole thing is a lie.
Yeah.
Very effective.
Or, I mean, I guess Guy Pearce has a little bootstrap story. And he loves to tell it. I like that part of it, too. How, like, the rich guy loves to be like, I was poor when I was a child. Like, good for you, I guess. You're a fucking asshole now.
Yeah. Oh my God, such an asshole. I thought he was really good in that role. Everyone's acting in that movie was great. Guy Pearce? He's like one of the people who's like kind of on the bubble as far as whether he might get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I think he's in there as getting nominated, but nobody's talking about anyone but Kieran. So like what chance does he actually have?
Yeah.
Which is sad because I thought it was a solid performance.
Well, it's an honor to be nominated.
Exactly. He's ranked number 2 behind Kieran Culkin. So,
I mean, it's definitely Kieran.
Yeah, all the other folks on the list, it's like, well, that's great, but we already know Kieran's going to win. So. Even though the awards have been all over the place and the nominations have been all over the place, he's been consistent.
Yeah.
I definitely liked The Brutalist. I thought it was a good movie. It's just that there are so many movies I love more that I want to see celebrated. Any other year, I'd probably be more behind it. I just want there to be room for these other stories.
I just sometimes wish more happy stories got nominated for Oscars. Why is it always tragedies or heavy themes?
Because that's when you can really act.
Yeah, those are the meaty parts.
Squeeze the tear out of your eye and yell.
Yeah, true.
That's why comedies are never, almost never.
So much harder to be funny than be serious.
That's true. Comedies are never taken seriously. That's one of my concerns about The Substance getting the recognition it deserves. I think part of the reason it won at the Golden Globes was because they do that category division. And so they have a special division. And it's funny because I was like, it's definitely not a musical, but also I didn't think it was a comedy.
Take it as a comedy.
But I think at the end, I was like, oh yeah, this is like
there's a
total
lot of funny
satire.
I do think it's a comedy.
I feel like that category in the Golden Globes is just non-drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Everything else.
Drama or
not.
Yeah, well, anyway, I liked that movie and I thought it was good and I thought it deserves some recognition. And I am totally fine with the limited use of AI because it seems like it was very, very limited. They didn't make an AI version of Adrian Brody and like drop him into the movie when he was off having a vacation in Aruba or something.
Just a little side note, though, I do want to give a major shout out to that actress at the beginning who plays the prostitute. Down on her knees, staring up at Adrian Brody with no shirt on, and she's like, "You're ugly."
Yeah.
How can those words leave your lips with a straight face?
He's like, I know.
Right.
Isn't he so
I know.
hot?
He is so crazy hot.
I like big noses, so.
Me too. It's a really good one.
I really loved Love Lies Bleeding and Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Nosferatu, I don't know why Lily Rose Depp isn't in the conversation, because I thought she was really awesome, and it was such a physical role too, and I feel like that kind of acting doesn't get a lot of recognition. And then the costuming, Willem Dafoe, Nicholas Hoult, like I hadn't seen him like that before.
That's the best I've ever seen from him.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm usually pretty underwhelmed by Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, and then Love Lies Bleeding, I really like that story a lot. I love Kristen Stewart, she's great. And there was a little bit of magical, or, you know, like where she's like a giant because she's on steroids. And like, I just really loved that perspective. It was different, and I liked that. Okay, Maxine was another really great one.
Yeah.
That was such a fun movie experience for me. And I like Challengers a lot.
Yeah, I loved that.
Yes. I have
I was kind of
Challengers
lukewarm on that
list.
one.
Lukewarm?
Oh.
Yeah. I watched it and I just like didn't feel anything about it. Like I was like, I don't feel anything. Didn't change me in any way.
Okay.
It was like fine.
I thought it was so entertaining. But I love tennis, and then I was surprised afterwards. Like, I'm hearing that people who aren't into tennis still liked this movie because I thought it was so much about tennis, which I love.
Yeah. I liked the score. I mean, that was
score's great.
different,
That was
interesting.
Sure, that's going to be the winner. I hope so.
Probably,
They
but
got the Golden Globe. I think it's such an iconic score. Like, I think it's deserved. I listen to the score sometimes just to, like,
Just
pump
by
myself
itself.
up.
Yeah.
Like, cleaning the house or something. It's just so good and so iconic. And it's one of those scores that you can picture the scene when you're listening to it. And I think that's so powerful. That's such good music writing. And I also think the script is tight and perfect, which I'm always in such awe when there's a tight script that has setups and callbacks and no filler at all, I don't think there was a single line that was not important, you know? And the performances blew me away. I would love to have seen Josh O'Connor in the conversation, but I don't think it's
And
happening.
also complicated characters. Like, we could talk for another two, because we podcasted about it, but we could talk for another 2 hours about Tashi and Patrick and Art, you know?
Totally.
Team Patrick. He did nothing wrong.
Another sort of reluctant mother as well.
Right? Yeah.
Which I really respected that as a portrayal. Like, I can't get enough of that. And I just thought it was so fun, and I also thought it was super sexy. I may be getting into tennis now.
Yeah. I haven't watched any of the Australian Open because it's 1 a.m.
Yeah, the time is hard.
Yeah, the time change.
I'm a thighs person, and there's a lot of thighs.
Yeah.
A lot of grunting.
Yeah.
Sweat.
I liked that score, but the score that I most was like, oh, this should win was the score for Conclave.
Oh, really? I can't hear any of it.
Like within 10 minutes of that movie starting, I was like, oh, this score. And I realized I was holding a lot of tension.
Oh.
And all this dude was doing was walking down an empty hallway. For like the first 10 minutes, he's just walking down empty hallways and like opening doors and it's nothing, but it felt really tense. And then I realized it's because of the way the score was creating the
Did you see them in the
tension
theater or
kind
at
of.
home?
No, I watched it at home.
Who's responsible for that?
Volker Bertelmann.
Not known to me.
It's a Volker Bertelmann.
He's probably Volker. I, in general, liked the movie. Even before I liked the movie, I was like, damn, this score. He did All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, okay.
that was another Oscar.
And he won an Academy Award for that and a British Academy Film Award.
Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, he's like a cutie pie. He's a German composer, pianist, and former rapper who mainly performs and records under the name Hauschka.
Oh.
And is best known for his compositions for prepared piano. So he has these like two different names. I guess he has his performer name and his composer name. I did not see Love Lies Bleeding, and it was not on my radar until like 2 weeks ago when I heard that John Waters said it was his favorite film of 2024, and now I definitely have to watch it. Has everybody here already seen Love Lies Bleeding?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like it at all. Sorry.
I didn't get a lot of good reviews. Like, mostly people didn't like it. So that's why I was curious.
I was middling. I respected what it was doing, but it just didn't 100% work for me. But I do like it when they try stuff. I always like to see something new.
I took Matt to it. I was almost going to be like, oh, sorry, I may just sit through that. He's like, I really liked that movie.
Oh,
He really liked it a lot, yeah.
I just think it's so interesting when you're like, were we just in the same movie? Also, you're like, obviously you get along. And then you have such different
I can always
responses. It's so
accept that
cool.
people like different things.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that's
just think
not
it's
hard
cool.
for me at all.
It's like the amazing thing about art. It's just like, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
Right.
You could be like, wow, we think alike on a bajillion things, but on this thing, we're different.
I do want to say a couple more things about Nosferatu. I was also really annoyed about it being snubbed for shortlist sound and visual effects because I thought those are the biggest strengths. The visuals, especially, like all the floating, there was just so much floating.
Yeah.
Everybody's floating everywhere and it looked so seamless and awesome. The death coach scene, I just think about that scene all the time, how beautiful that was. I loved the way it was shot. There's so much effective sound design in that. Lots of squishing and textures. When she's rubbing Orlok's back at one point, I think it's toward the end. It's the sound you hear. I'm just like, ugh! So visceral. It's not on the short list, at least for sound and visual effects.
It'll get nominated for like production design, costume, and hair and makeup, I think.
Okay.
And
Oh yeah, probably hair and makeup. That makes
cinematography.
sense.
I think it's.
I would think.
I hope so, because that was definitely a big strike.
That is like the movie that I kept trying to see before today and had to make a tough choice. There was actually one day where I was dressed to go and I was just like, I just can't do it. Like I
Yeah, Nosferatu.
cold and I have to look for parking. And I wish it was streaming. Like I would totally watch it.
Denise.
I saw Nosferatu the other day and I didn't like it. It's not even just that I didn't love it. I was not affected by it. There were some things about it that were visually interesting, but for the most part, I didn't enjoy it. I left the theater kind of like, that was terrible. I really liked The Lighthouse.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's just so weird and cool. And so I'm hoping that there's a lot of that vibe to this movie. So I'm excited to see it.
There's definitely some director signatures. Well, I mean, Willem Dafoe as well.
Yeah, that too.
They are different movies, though. But gosh, I love Willem Dafoe so much. He's always perfect. I
He
never
could do
have
no
any
wrong.
notes for him. And I did think Lily Rose was so good too. My biggest issue with it was, and it's a personal, very personal preference, like, I need a horny vampire movie. It's gotta be horny. I get that it's death, and I get that it's, like, a metaphor for abuse and trauma and all of that, but, like, people gotta be having orgasms, right? That's a big part of vampires.
I mean, it's the little death.
Yeah. So those are the vampires I was brought up on.
Yeah, I'm going into this knowing that it's no Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, no.
Which was always my favorite.
I love that one.
Me too.
I want to talk about a different man.
I like that.
I thought that was so
You hated that,
interesting.
yeah.
Oh, great. Let's talk about that.
Oh, wait, are you supposed to say when you hate something?
Yeah.
Nosferatu.
I mean, you're invited to say.
Oh, we're not supposed to say
No,
it?
no, I've been holding back.
Oh, okay.
People
I
were
know.
liking something,
We're not
I
supposed
didn't
to
have
yuck
to be like,
somebody's
by the way,
yum.
I hate it.
Yeah.
But no, that's good.
You could definitely be like that. That is
All right.
totally valid.
Nosferatu, that was on me. 4 minutes into it, I'm like, why am I here? Why did I come to this? Like, this is not what I like at all.
Yeah.
And also seeing it in IMAX was a big mistake. I'm like, I am being stabbed in the ear for 2 hours.
That
I hate
makes
it.
so much sense to me because just like the regular sound system was so immersive. I bet you were getting stabbed in the ear.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
what it felt
literally.
like.
I have quite a few friends who did not like Nosferatu. So I was all like, of course I'm going to see it. And then people are like, Lily Rose Depp is a moaning machine. She has no character depth whatsoever. I'm so sick of that. And
I've never
offended
heard
and
that
mad
criticism.
about
That's
it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nosferatu was fine. It just wasn't my thing because I also don't like Bram Stoker's Dracula at all. So I'm like, why am I seeing this? What did I do? Remember when Logan and I did that Winona Ryder festival? Like, and I tried so hard to not watch that. I'm like, what about Mermaids? What about Age of Innocence? I tried so hard to not have to sit through them.
But I do want to talk about a different man.
Yes, please do. I had a hard time with it. It made me mad.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, interesting.
Why, when he like is cured, does he not just say, "Oh, hey, look, it's me and I'm cured"? Why is he like, that person died and I'm moving away, having no contact? I was so mad about that. Like, I support characters making choices as long as those choices make sense, but I just felt like that choice didn't make sense. I was like, why?
Denise, he's a different man.
I know,
I thought it was like the ultimate expression of self-loathing.
but it just made me
He's
sad.
like, oh, I get to be a new person, but then he
Yeah.
actually isn't because inside he's still the same guy.
in the beginning, maybe he feels like his disability is holding him back. But then this other person comes along with this like very similar disability, and it's obviously not holding that person back. And then he like gets cured, but he still is acting sort of like in a lot that same way. I mean, that resonated for me a little bit on like people who lose a lot of weight. Like that doesn't change all the experiences you had as an overweight person in this world and like how that affects you. And so I can relate to that experience of like, you're still who you are on the inside. But then it was like the cult, and then also it's like stabbing people, and they're like, we're still your friends. It's just like, God damn it.
It did have some surreal moments, but I'm usually on board with that kind of thing.
Yeah, with the effects, it seemed like very low budget, and that took me out of it a little bit. It just didn't look real to me. I mean, you see in the beginning how every person he encounters is reacting to his condition or treating him differently. And then you see his apartment with like that huge hole leaking. And it's like he's living like he doesn't deserve things, you know? I thought it had a lot of interesting ideas in it, but towards the end I'm like, they're really trying to cram all these things about the ethics of if a person doesn't have this condition, are they able to play that person? And then, like, you see the guy who kind of, like, swoops in and steals the role, and he's selling the story that the woman is telling that makes her look better. Which isn't actually what happened. But it was interesting knowing that he was that man. How he can't even argue for the character. Everybody else is telling him how he should feel. You're an inspiration. There's not a lot of room to be complicated, and different people have different stories.
He chose to bury that man, so that was the consequence of that choice, was that he was no longer perceived as having an authority about it. I love the whole bit about the typewriter.
Oh, yeah. Like, she never used the typewriter.
And just kept
she
giving
told
it
him
away.
that she used the typewriter to type the note. And then later she's like, I've never used it. And he was like,
she seemed like she was going to be cool. Like,
she wasn't.
In the beginning.
No.
But then she really was not.
Well, I think that's an important part of it, too. She's a beautiful woman, so everyone's like, oh, she must be really nice because she's so beautiful, but she's actually not.
Right. Well, she seemed like she was kind of interested in him as a neighbor, and it just went sideways, like, really quickly.
I think, like, what you were just saying about inspirational, I mean, just thinking about how people with disabilities are represented in film, there's, like, a requirement that they're inspirational. In a way, to me, the two characters was, like, the actual person who isn't perfect and has flaws and, like, lots of flaws versus the person who's, like, such an inspiration, like, he has such a great attitude despite his disability. And maybe that was part of what the movie was about. It's like that sort of battle between who gets to be in the play, who gets to have the life, who gets to have the good things. And it was, like, the person who was jovial and uplifting and...
And I think he talks about having like a really good family, a supportive family, too. And that's definitely not what Sebastian Stan's character had.
Why did they go to the cult, though? And they're just like, it's not a cult. And then they try to explain, they're like, oh, God, it sounds
really
like
sounds
a cult.
like-
You know, and you're like...
I love that shit.
I like that, too. Like,
I was so frustrated already
it's just
by
like
then.
a little swerve. You know, like, sometimes people just take a weird turn. And it's like, okay, you know?
Now that we've talked about it, I do appreciate that there were some themes in the film that they did a good job of putting in. Probably some of the things that made me mad were supposed to make me mad.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't, why did he make that choice? There was just nothing to make that choice make sense to me.
I think it was
just
about
a
like
choice.
his self-hate, you know, and he lived that way feeling like everything would be different if I didn't have this disability. And like now this is my real life, you know, because that wasn't who I was. That was holding me back. And then to be confronted with someone who lives a fulfilling life with that.
And then he lied to the doctor. The doctor's like, this is an experiment. I wonder if this medication works. And it's like, nope, your patient died.
I know. I mean, that's
no one else will ever get that cure now.
Choice, but that's who he is.
Right.
I thought the doctor was kind of trying to push the treatment on him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
They
probably.
did
It's
seem like they
he's
had their
seen
own
a little
interests.
candidates for his experimental drug.
Want to do this little experiment on him. Ugh.
I liked all that about it. People doing good things, but for their own selfish motivations, and how often
Right,
that
like I
happens.
felt like the girl, a lot of it in the beginning was patting herself on the back for being kind to the
Totally.
like outcast.
Yeah.
This was another one where I drew parallels to other films that I had watched. The part where his face is peeling off was just like making me think of The Substance. You know,
I
there
think
was
it
just,
has a lot in common with that.
Yeah.
For me, like this worked in a way The Substance didn't work. I mean, I liked The Substance fine. I would have never thought about it again if it didn't become such a big thing.
Oh, interesting.
I think Demi Moore's Golden Globe speech really helped her chances of getting the
She
Oscar.
dressed like an Oscar.
That's
what you gotta do.
That was smart.
She's dressing for the part.
And her speech was endearing. Like, people liked her because of it.
I really liked her memoirs. She had a pretty shitty childhood.
Yeah, she came from nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't Moore like her first married name, right? It's fun when someone keeps their married name forever.
Did you love Emilia Pérez or no?
No. I thought it was interesting. It's unlike any other musical I've ever seen. I just thought the way they handled the musical numbers was different than what I've seen. I really loved the performance of El Mal and Zoe Saldana in that scene as just like fire. That was great. But otherwise, I thought Zoe Saldana was great and everybody else was fine. One other movie that I would want to mention is Sing Sing.
Oh, yeah. You love
Because
that.
that was one that I was gonna force myself to see. It was the last one of the most likely top 10 Best Picture. So I was like forcing myself to watch it. And then I loved it. It was like such a surprise how much I loved it. And Coleman Domingo is so amazing in that movie. He definitely deserves to win. It's about a theater program in a prison, and almost all of the actors in the film are men who were previously incarcerated.
Oh, that's really cool.
And it's based on a true story. And so the guy who Coleman Domingo plays, the real guy, plays another part in the movie.
I love it.
So I feel like that is really cool. Just like a lot of heart, a lot of humanity. Characters have like really deeply emotional things happening. None of the characters seemed like flat or like one note. Everybody seemed complex. And then in particular, the main supporting actor, Clarence Macklin, he was so good. And his character arc is like a lot of the guys in the film, the way they present it is just sort of like, where we come from, you have to be really tough or you will be destroyed. So this guy's like this sort of tough guy. They have room in the theater program for more new people, and he had expressed interest in it. But then when they try to approach him about it, he just can't drop that act. But then he kind of gets in it a little bit, and just sort of watching the closeness of the guys in the theater program and like how preparing to play roles and like getting to play roles lets them work through feelings that they haven't been allowed to work through.
Yeah.
He does drop some of those walls and like start to connect with other people. And I think his character arc is just so great, and he did such a good job of representing it. I wish that there was more conversation about him as a Best Supporting Actor nominee. I think he's like 6th place, you know? But yeah, he was just so great.
Editor's note: Clarence Macklin did not receive an acting nom, but he did get one for Best Original Screenplay alongside co-writers Clint Bentley, Greg Quidar, and John Divine G. Whitfield.
And just, Coleman Domingo, like, that guy, he was just amazing. They're like, we're doing Macbeth. And then they're like, we're doing a comedy. So they're like acting in a movie about a theater troupe. So now there's acting within,
I like acting in
within
acting.
I do too.
Yeah. So that's
Now
like,
I'm like,
neat.
I should watch this
it's good. And
I was going to ask you what plays they did.
Oh, so Coleman Domingo's character is a novelist and like has written plays. So sometimes they're like, let's do one of your plays.
Cool.
And then the new guy is kind of like, let's do a comedy. Like, don't you think we have enough tragedy here? Can we please do a comedy? And the guy who's like the theater director, like the group steward, he like writes this comedy. They all are like, we want it to be like this. And so it's like, you know, like it has pirates and it's got Hamlet and it's got time travel. And it's like this crazy play. And
That sounds awesome.
yeah, it's just like so crazy.
I want to see time travel Hamlet so bad.
It's kind of wild. You know, obviously there's hardships and friendship, and I really liked it. It wasn't what I was expecting. I saw it on the same day I saw Babygirl. I did like a double feature.
Oh, wow.
And then I was going in, I was kind of like, oh, I should see Sing Sing first because it's probably going to be really heavy. And then Babygirl after. I was glad I saw that second.
Yeah,
It was like
nice.
that sort of like uplifting. I think that there must be some other film from this same production company that they're like pushing more And so they were kind of letting Sing Sing die on the vine. They weren't really doing very much promotion for it and hasn't been in the theaters in 100 years, so no one's seen it. Everyone's like, how can we even decide whether we like it or not? Right. So now I think it is getting a little bit more traction and a little bit more conversation. And I think that's good because it's not really very fair, I think, to the actors and the people who worked on the film, you know, for the company to just be like, well, we'd rather promote this other movie instead.
Totally.
Which I know is like how they do it.
Yeah. They should just promote all their movies.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Now that I saw it, I'm mad on its behalf that it hasn't been getting more support.
I did really like Queer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't
I
seen
did
that
too.
yet.
Like, why did Luca have 2 banger movies this year?
I know.
Yeah.
Like, if I have to pick between the two, I pick Challengers, but I thought Queer was so great.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig was so awesome.
Yeah.
I hope he gets nominated.
Yeah, he's
think
on my
he
list
will
of
be.
that.
I love Lucas' direction.
Yeah.
I liked the anachronistic music in Queer.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
I'll watch it.
That's one where it's long, but I feel like the running time is really justified.
Mm-hmm.
It's really such a fine line between like a shot where someone's walking and nothing's happening other than that, and it works or it doesn't work. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly why it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. Other times, I think it's the director. You know, it's just what the director's capable of, and I feel like Luke is capable of making any shot work. He just knows what to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an artist's eye.
Yeah, he's good at that. One movie that I want to make sure to mention is Flow. Have
Oh,
you
yeah.
seen Flow?
I love
I
that.
didn't watch it.
Oh, it is so
I
good.
didn't see that many animated movies this year, but I thought that was so good. And I mean, I'm just always down for a cat movie.
Yeah.
We need more cat representation in movies.
I agree. Dogs get all the glory,
Yeah.
but we need more cats. Especially for a movie with no dialogue. It's
Yeah.
really engrossing and you're like rooting for these characters and God, the animation is just stunning.
It's
I
spectacular.
could not. So it's like a cat and some other animals that might typically be in a predator-prey relationship with each other in the world that is flooding end up kind of having to band together to survive.
People are gone.
Yeah, there's no people. Because of the flooding. There's some scenes where like the cat is underwater and it's like showing the cat sort of like floating and looking around at all these fish swimming around. But then also you could see through the top of the water like the buildings that are above it. It was like, how did you even do that with animation?
Water
Just
is
show
hard to
the, like,
animate. They really nailed it.
really. Everyone's been like, the wild robot. Like,
I didn't like that.
It was good.
I mean, I thought it was just okay, but unremarkable.
I can't remember if it was like Variety or Entertainment Weekly, but a couple months ago, they were like, this is going to get nominated as one of the top 10 Best Picture films. Like, they thought Wild Robot was so good.
Wow.
To even get a non-animated. But then Flow came in and just like, scooped it. The
You got
Golden Globes.
flowed, robot.
Yeah. And now I'm just like, oh yeah, Flow was definitely better in my opinion.
I like that they don't really explain what happened to the people or what happened to the world. And then there is this kind of whale creature throughout the movie that's not exactly a whale.
Right?
I thought that was really neat. And they used real animal sounds. All the animal sounds are the actual animals.
And there's a capybara in it.
Yes.
Oh. Capybara? Is that his name?
Capybara.
Yeah, capybara. Like, how can you not love that?
Those are so hot right now, apparently.
They're so hot right now.
I've heard
Yeah.
that.
Everybody loves them. That's why they're so hot. Those are like they're floating through these weird, I don't know, this place looks like Venice, and then they're like,
Yeah,
this place.
it's not really a specific place.
Yeah, but they look real enough that you think this is probably a specific place. And then it's like when you see that whale, is it a sea monster or is it a whale?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, okay, we're in an alternate reality. It's not supposed to be Earth. I'm putting air quotes around that Earth.
But there were people. There's like traces of people. I really like at the beginning, before the flood really happens, the cat is taking a nap and obviously the house that they lived in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a drawing of that cat on the desk. It's like the last thing that their owner did. And then they like kind of sniff the pillow a little bit and lie down the pillow. Oh my God. I was like crying the first 10 minutes.
Like, oh my God, this is going to wreck me and it only just started. The window's broken. So he like climbs through the broken window. So you're like, okay, I guess it's not like the people are just out somewhere.
Right.
They're gone. Yeah, you don't ever find out why.
That's got to win Best Animated.
Yeah, for sure. It was so great.
And it's in the conversation for Best Foreign Film as well. Who knows? Maybe it'll show up on the Best Picture.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know Emilia Pérez will be nominated in the Best, what do they call it? International film?
Oh, it's international. It used to be foreign language and now it's international. There's always an English movie as well. Like London, England. England.
There was some announcer I remember just being like, London, England. Makes me laugh to say it like that.
That's what a friend of mine's kids, you'd say England. They would correct England. Well, kind of talked about all the movies that I didn't love, but I assumed were going to be in the conversation, except for Wicked. That's the one thing we haven't touched on my list.
Yeah.
So we should talk about Wicked.
Well, that and also Anora.
Yeah, we should talk about Anora.
Yeah, we should talk about
I feel like now I'm doing the thing
We
that
need
you
to
did
talk
with
about it.
you did this with Dracula during your Winona Ryder thing, which was like, let's watch something else. we're like Wicked, and I'm like, oh no, Anora. Yeah, let's talk about Anora.
I feel we should talk about both of them. I mean, we don't need to talk that much about Wicked. I was so excited for Anora, and I was pretty disappointed in it. It's like a pretty entertaining movie. I feel like the ending is really bad. It really betrays its main character, with the ending especially. And the more I thought about it after, the perspective of this movie, it's just kind of gross. It's kind of like, aren't sex workers such losers, you know? It's this fantasy of strippers are kind of dumb and they do really like the guys in the club and their greatest dream is for some rich guy to fall for them and rescue them from this life. There's a sex worker socialist who's super cool that I've followed on Twitter, and she has had like a lot to say about this movie, obviously. She wrote a long form piece. I didn't read the whole thing because it was longer than my interest level in this movie, but one of the things that didn't sit with her well was that she doesn't have a different personality when she's at work, you know, whereas she said so much of it, it's like a client fantasy. A big thing is clients want to know your real name. Becomes a power thing with tell me your real name, you know. So the fact that her real name is Anora, but she likes to go by Annie, and that's her preferred name, and it's kind of gross that he named the movie her real name that she doesn't go by. Yeah. And then also the scene where the guys come into the house and restrain her. Why is that played for laughs?
Is it?
Don't you think?
That was pretty traumatizing. I actually was like,
I think it was played as a comedic scene, though,
yeah.
because they're kind of bumbling and she's fighting against them and they're not expecting to
wow,
not be
you're
able
a
to overpower
spitfire.
her. Right. Many sex workers have had experiences
Yeah.
like this. This is a terrifying thing that we all live with at least the threat of.
I felt totally terrified throughout that scene.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't know what was going to happen. You assume, like, okay, Russian mafia or whatever, like, these guys are killers, you know? Ugh.
I mean, I think they play it like it's funny, you know?
Yeah, like, she kind of outfoxes them and...
Right, like, it's funny that they have such a hard time because it's like this little girl and, like, they're definitely not trying to kill anyone or hurt anyone, but it's gross, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like she was made to look dumb. I felt like there were parts in the beginning where she was at work and she was enjoying being good at her job and she knows she's good at her job.
I really
and
like
she's
that,
says to the boss, like, you don't pay my 401k or whatever. Like, I felt like there were some good parts to it.
Oh, I
didn't
definitely
like
feel
the
that,
ending. It was so sad the way it ended, and I was trying to remember if like all of his movies end in this, like the Florida Project. I felt like that was such a sad ending.
It's devastating ending.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's his thing or whatever.
I think it might be.
Yeah,
right.
It could have ended a different way.
I really liked the Florida Project and Red Rocket a lot. But why is it sad at the end? Because she's still a sex worker, you know, like that's what's gross about it to me, you know, that we should feel sorry for these people, where there's a lot of people who do sex work as a career. I mean, I don't think she's dumb in the beginning, but I think she makes dumb decisions. She's being pretty dumb when his family gets involved, you know, where she's like, I didn't sign a prenup. And then she just caves like so completely that she just lets the mom, like, I'll take your car, I'll take, you know, things she doesn't even have. Right. And I think it's pretty dumb to hook up with one of the guys that broke into her house and restrained her. I just like didn't go along with that arc. Oh, he was the nice one of the Russian goons and...
Well, that's what I thought was sad at the end. Was because I don't know if she ends up with him, but like I thought that she hooks up with him is sad, and I think that it's sad because she's crying. She's like,
but I'm saying like that's where I feel he betrays his character like that. Oh, look at this poor girl. That's all she knows how to do is ride a dick. Now she's crying with a dick inside her in this car. Isn't that pathetic? Like, I just feel like that's the vibe of this movie. Look at that poor girl. That's all she even knows how to do.
She's incredibly young, too. And people make dumb decisions. That's what I kept thinking. It's such a unique experience. I just thought she was so young.
Right.
Like the ending, you said, I've got this, was it The Ring?
Yeah.
Or something?
He salvaged
And it's
the
like,
ring.
I kind of took it as she thought she had to give him something because he had given her this ring. He's kind of like making eye contact with her, like, you don't have to do this. That's kind of how I interpreted the ending.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it's gross to do that to your character.
Yeah.
We're saying the same thing. Like, this is all she knows how to do. It would have been so much more satisfying if she's hooking up with Vanya, this, like, super rich guy who's, like, be my girlfriend for a week. She was just, like, rolling him for the money he could throw at her and not being like, I really do want to marry you, too. And this outside fantasy of, like, this is
it's like
what...
disempowering.
Right. Like, this is what sex workers are all really waiting for, you know, for someone to come along and rescue them from that light.
First of all, thank you for this very astute analysis because I didn't think about any of that. My issue with that movie, there's just like a part in the film that just drags for me. Like when they're like looking for him and they're going to the different clubs, walking down the beach and they're going here and there. I'm like, why is this so long? My attention drifted away and then was kind of like, oh, I'm drifting back. But as a general rule, if my attention drifts away, you can't be nominated for Best Picture.
Wow.
It's like, I mean,
the Denise rule. I like it.
I
like it.
That's fair.
How can you be best?
It's not the best if there was a boring part.
Exactly. I don't know if that was like editing. I don't know what that was about, but...
Although I will say in that segment, that was probably my funniest moment in the movie was when they're deciding to go somewhere else and the one guy is like, let's walk there. And they're like, no, it's too far. And he's like, I don't want to look for other parking. I'm like, that was so relatable. Like, I want to walk because I don't want to have to find parking again.
That is relatable, especially in Seattle. I mean, I guess in Vegas it must be true too.
I don't want to look for
I don't usually drive in Vegas, so I don't have the experience, but yeah, it stands to reason.
Oh my god, it's why I didn't go see Nosferatu the other day, because I was like, oh, I'd have to look
where
for
were you gonna see
parking
that?
at the Uptown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
that's one of the
Yeah, we
hardest
got to
places
think about that. It's a
Okay.
Kraken game, too, on Thursday.
Shit. Okay.
So.
Yeah, Amy really turned me around on Anora because I liked it at first because I really liked Sean Baker's direction and cinematography. And, like, I really just get sucked into his stories because of that. I did feel sad at the end, but I didn't really think about the implications of that until I talked to Amy about it. So,
Right.
yeah, the implications are fucked.
Right. I mean, I feel like in a way it's objectively a good movie, but it's like a good movie with a shitty message, kind of.
Yeah.
You know? Like how Die Hard is a good movie, even though it's propaganda, you know? But
yeah, because you want, like, the promotion of it made it seem like it was like a triumphant story for a sex worker when it's totally the opposite.
Right.
And I feel like the score kind of also implies that it's triumphant a lot of the time. But the story does not follow suit.
I love Mikey Madison's performance.
I love
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, what about the performances?
She's so good in it.
Yeah.
And I think Yura Borisov, who is the one who plays the good guy, bad guy. The good bad guy.
The least shitty guy, I guess.
Yeah. He's been like in and out of like discussion for being nominated, but it seems like now he's like in.
I did look him up because I was
liked
just
him.
curious. I just got the vibe from him that he was a famous Russian actor for some reason. And I looked up, he's a famous action star in Russia. He's been doing a shit ton of action movies.
Interesting. I liked him. I thought he did a good job, and it was just like pacing was a problem for me. And then now that you brought up all these other issues, I'm like pissed off.
Baxter. Real quick, talking about Mikey Madison and the Anora thing, I found out after we recorded this podcast that a fun little fact about Anora is that Mikey Madison was offered an intimacy coordinator, but she declined. Of course, I'm all for agency, but why offer it to her? Why put this young 24-year-old actress under pressure like that? You know, she doesn't want to be a problem. She's gonna say, I trust you. She's gonna want to be as accommodating as possible. They should have just hired one. They should have an intimacy coordinator for every intimacy scene. It should be a requirement. It should be a legal requirement. You don't have to consult with them on everything, but what's the harm in having them there? It's not like they're going to say, oh, I don't think we need a stunt supervisor. That's never going to happen because of legal ramifications, but they just don't care about any psychological trauma that would happen to a woman as a result of not being taken care of in an intimacy scene. And that needs to change. So let's make intimacy coordinators a requirement going forward. And I'm sorry that happened to you, Mikey Madison. I hope that you're okay and that they really did take care of you and that you don't ever turn down an intimacy coordinator again or ever be in that position where you feel like you have to turn it down.
I mean, maybe we should give a sex worker some money to make a movie.
Right? Okay, like talking about themes running through the Oscar films this year. This is another people telling stories about something they don't know anything about from their perspective. But then I'm like, is it a theme this year? No, that's actually most of the time, especially when it comes to women's stories, you know. Like most often they're told from the perspective of someone looking at them and what they think they should be like. And probably not a theme unique to this year.
Right.
But you always hope that it gets better, right?
Yeah.
Every once in a while you get something.
I have one that's like a movie I just cannot make myself watch. I just can't watch The Apprentice.
Oh, yeah, same.
I don't have a need
I
for
don't care that Sebastian Stan is great in it. I don't care that whoever
Jeremy
Strong
is
is great. We all know that we're going to have quite enough of that freaking jerk on our timeline for the next however long, and I just don't need to opt into it voluntarily at this point. So,
Did you watch it, Christina?
Okay. Yeah, I liked it.
People were like, well, if it helps you, it's not flattering. And I'm like, I just can't.
Right.
That made me almost watch it. Listening to an interview with Sebastian Stan because he was talking about how the biggest struggle for him was to find the humanity in a person he doesn't see humanity in. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what you did there. But then every time I sit down, I'm like, no, let's watch anything but this, right?
Seriously. On my little spreadsheet, when I give all the films a ranking based on how many nominations they're likely to get, I like manly went in and said negative 100. So I'd be like always at the bottom of my spreadsheet.
Wow, yeah.
Like, I will watch every other film ever made before I watch that one.
Sebastian Stan was supposed to be in that Variety Actors on Actors, but no publicist would want their client to be paired with him to talk about The Apprentice. And I liked in his acceptance speech, he talked about these are stories that are worth telling, and he did some interesting choices with The Apprentice and A Different Man.
It's just terrible timing. It could have come out a year ago, maybe, or even next year. Like, just the worst possible timing for that movie.
It didn't come out in, like, say, the very end of September. I could get an extra dose of, like, why he's a very bad man and we should not vote for him.
I don't know if it would have helped.
Probably not.
That's a whole other fucking discussion.
But, like, what a year for Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, he's so good.
He could get nominated twice.
I think he's a very interesting performer, and I just love it when someone uses their Marvel money to make interesting choices and basically like to make the movies he wanted to make all this time.
Yeah,
true.
When we were watching something and I was like, oh, I love Sebastian Stan, and Logan was like, wait, who is he to you? I'm like, Tanya, Fresh, Different Man, Marvel. Like, I didn't know.
No, but he's so good in those others. He's so good in Tanya. God, that movie's awesome.
That's a great movie.
The one movie I agree with Rex Reed on.
Wicked.
Yeah, Wicked.
I feel like this is going to be a painless discussion. I don't think any of us are Wicked stans.
I'm not a theater kid. It's for the theater kids.
It's for a certain kind of
right.
theater, because I am a theater kid, but I'm like an old school theater kid, and the post-rent sound to me sounds horrible. I don't like any songs that are in that vein. There's one song in the movie that's more Sondheim than whatever the guy that did Rent was.
Jonathan Larson.
Yes, thank you. Which is popular, but even then it's like, okay, it's fine, I guess. It's not for me. And there are definitely people who it's for. Obviously, a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I like musicals fine. You know, I love Ariana Grande. I always love her, and I loved her in this.
Like the hair flip.
No.
They're the best thing in the movie.
Or like
the
when sometimes she'd be
campy.
talking and there would just be a little sing-song in the middle of her sentence. It was so cute.
She is really funny. She's the best part for me.
She's great. I'm like, why is this movie so long? Still going. Anytime she wasn't on screen, I was like, out.
I find it very upsetting that it is not only longer than the stage musical, but twice as long, maybe?
I mean, it's like, leave nothing out. Like, we don't need the whole story of, like, the hat.
The hat.
The broom, you know? It's like,
I can think of... It's It's just
that scene at
whenever
the
I'm
bar
watching a
was
movie
like-
and I'm like, I could cut this, I'd cut this,
Yeah.
I'd cut this. That's not good.
I didn't dislike it. I was entertained.
It's a big part of it.
You know, I think from like a production design and costume and hair and makeup and all that, visually appealing. But yeah, I had been hearing reports of people crying. You know, like I was like, really?
Like, literally wet.
I know. We're all like our theater kid karaoke friends, like because we have a group text thread, and it was all okay. We're all like devastated after seeing Wicked. Can we all go out tonight? I'm like, I'm
Devastated.
don't
Didn't they know what was gonna happen?
I mean, totally emotional for them. I couldn't even guess what is the thing about it that got to you in that way. But you know,
The only thing that was even close for me was like being mean to a goat. Peter Dinklage, the goat professor.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't affected by it the way those folks were. I didn't
but
understand
that. Was
that.
the only even remotely.
I do love Jonathan Bailey.
Who's that?
He's Prince Figaro.
Okay.
He's from Bridgerton. He's hot and I like him.
I watched it because I'm like, I better watch this. I appreciate all the work behind it. The sets, they had a great budget for that.
They sure did.
The things you can do with money.
Unlimited.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
I did think, maybe this is totally controversial and will get me murdered by theater kids, but I thought what I've heard of the stage musical, Ariana Grande improved all of the songs by 100. Like,
I'm sure.
Her voice is just so much better.
Her voice is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Unparalleled.
Yeah. Was she the Kristen Chenoweth?
Yeah.
Kristen Chenoweth
Yeah.
the character?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
she's got a better voice than her.
Like, so much better. There was some side-by-side of Popular, and I was like, "Ugh, I don't even want to hear the Kristen Chenoweth part.
Yeah,
I don't know, it was like grating, and then Ariana was like making it sound kind of beautiful, even though this character is like obnoxious. And
she has such a range.
Yeah, she just does have a
How many
phenomenal voice.
octaves? I don't even know.
She can do whistle notes. Like she can do anything.
Editor's note. Ariana Grande's range is 4 octaves from D3 to E7, soprano.
My favorite thing about Wicked is all the reels of Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande like doing the press circuit together and how like just like ridiculously adorable they are together. She's like holding her finger and the finger holding.
I do love
They're
it
just
when
so cute together.
People become best friends when they go together.
I know. It seems like they were each other's date at like so many things
Everything.
for like years leading up to the movie. I don't know. You know how they try to.
They really became friends.
Yeah. I saw something where they were saying like that was this like unexpected thing that became really tight friends. They just like really seem to look out for each other in the way that I love seeing women look out for each other like that. So I'm like, yay, that's great. I didn't realize it was part 1 of 2.
Yeah, that's not necessary.
I love that we're all on the same page about Wicked because I feel like I've been the lone voice that was like, it was fine. My friend always has this thing where she talks about like beautiful people in beautiful costumes in a gorgeous location will really get you quite far, whether there's anything actually noteworthy happening. This film had all of those things kind of going for it, the costumes and the sets and stuff. It was a spectacle for sure.
I'm kind of extra critical of spectacles, I think. I've looked for the substance because of that. Just the fact that it's my least favorite kind of musical sound. It's hard to explain, except that it is really just what Rent revolutionized musicals in that way. And it sounds different. It's like pre-Rent, post-Rent. Like the Back to the Future musical, everyone's like, oh, you must love that. And I'm like, no, it sounds like Wicked. Like, I don't love it.
I feel like that too. The most modern musical I loved was Chicago, that movie. I love
That's
that.
not a modern musical, though.
I
No,
know,
it's
like
not
a
modern,
bajillion years
but
ago.
Modern,
but it's like from 2000 something. I'm partial to the older like Sound of Music and that kind of music.
Same.
I wouldn't know how to explain it or anything, but I know what you mean.
It's just a generational gap. Is it like all younger people that are crying during Wicked? Is that what it is?
There might be a bit of it. I mean, I do think that like people grew up on it in a way.
Yeah.
Like, the people who are loving it are like, that was the first musical I saw or whatever.
See, it's a generational thing.
It might be, but I do know older people who like it too, so.
Okay.
Is there anything you haven't seen, but you were pretty sure you would like?
Well, now I feel like Sing Sing.
I feel that way as well.
Mission accomplished.
I also put down The Room Next Door, which you did see, right?
I didn't, and that's
Oh,
on
you
my
did?
list.
Okay.
It's like I didn't make it.
When you didn't go out. That
Yeah.
night. Yeah.
I really do want to see that. I love Almodovar And how can you go wrong with Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore? I just think it has all the markings of something that's going to be great. And also, it's his first English language film. So it is interesting to me that it's not getting very much discussion as a Best Picture or Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress, because you know, he's such a well-known director.
I know, he's huge.
Everyone loves everything he does. So
I mean, maybe it's just because of the saturation of 2024.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
it got lost in the shuffle a little bit.
also, I'm Still Here.
I only just heard about that.
It's not out yet, so we can't see it.
Well, that's rough.
I never saw Drive Away Dolls. Was that good?
That was just okay.
I guess that's just one I never saw.
I really didn't like Margaret Qualley in that.
Okay.
I will
silly,
concede
like,
there
super
that
hammy
that
accent.
didn't super work for me either, but it was just the whole thing didn't really work for me.
I was excited
not
for it when
vibing
it
with
first
that.
came out, and then I never got to see it. It fell off my radar until I saw it on your list over there somewhere, and I was like, oh yeah, that movie. I forgot.
I've heard a lot of good things about Nickel Boys.
Yeah, that was on my list too.
I read the book. It was really good.
And then also Dee Dee, that looked really good.
Editor's note. Christina would like you to know that she has since seen Dee Dee and now considers it one of the best films of the year. It received 0 nominations.
And then there was this movie I was really curious about, The Outrun with Saoirse Ronan.
Oh,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
saw the trailer a bunch of
That looked really good, but I don't know anybody that saw it.
That looks like a tough one.
Yeah, I love those
So
kinds of
usually the
movies.
Academy loves that stuff.
Yeah.
right?
September 5th seemed like a movie that would have been Oscar bait, but I don't know.
I feel like it is getting
Yeah.
script accolades. I think it's going to show up in the screenplay category at least.
I think it was even getting some Best Picture discussion earlier on, and then it was kind of hovering near the bottom of the top 10, and then now it's at 12th. But I don't know, maybe it's hurt just because it's not out.
Yeah.
It's like one of the hard things. It's like, how is this film nominated for 2024 when it's not even available
No
to
one's
watch
seen
it
it, really,
until
yeah.
a month before the Oscars? So it's kind of tough to feel excited about something that you can't see.
Yeah.
Totally. I know they really need to do better with that.
I really wanted to see Problemista.
Yeah,
and
I
Oh,
did
I like
too.
that a lot.
I wanted to see that.
That's not Oscar bait at all. It's just such a comedy. It's such
Yeah.
a straightforward comedy, but it's also about the immigrant experience, and
I
it
love
does
that.
a really good job with that. And I love Emilia Pérez. And Tilda Swinton's so good in it too.
Also, the piano lesson seemed interesting. Like, a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
were saying Danielle Deadweiler might get a nomination for that. And then I've heard Lee is not great, but I love Kate Winslet, so
Yeah.
I might be
Kate
able to
Winslet,
do
but I
it.
feel like she's in a lot of bad movies.
I feel like that's another thing the Academy loves. Below the other things that we talked about is when an actress is in a movie that's actually otherwise not very good. Like when
Yeah,
she's
they
good in a
do
movie that
that.
otherwise.
Yeah, they do that, don't
Yes,
they?
a lot. Like The Outrun and Lee, and I think Last Showgirl were ones where it was like these performances are great and they're just not rising to the top. But they're ones that in another year might be in the top.
Yeah. It's a pretty good year.
Yeah, it has been weird watching the odds, and like the rankings. The things that have been at the top have been mostly pretty stable.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, what do I see now? Like, now that I'm trying to see whatever's going to be fifth. But because we usually talk about snubs, I was like, I have to watch some of the ones that I know aren't making it in, because how do you know if it was a snub or if they just weren't
didn't
in the
cut
top
it.
5 this year?
Right,
You know?
right,
Is that
yeah.
a snub?
I mean, I use that term pretty loosely, just
Yeah.
basically meaning it wasn't getting recognized.
Right.
But we're preemptively discussing stuff at this point. But what do you most want to see get a nomination for the major categories? You can say a couple things: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor.
I'll go first. Do you want us to do all of them?
You
All
can
right.
do as
All right.
many or
Okay.
as few as you want, except one.
Best
at least.
Picture, I guess I would really like to see A Real Pain. Of my favorites, the one that I think that has the most realistic chance, And I know that she's a lock, but I still really want Ariana because I love her.
For supporting.
For supporting, yeah.
Even though she's a co-lead. That's one of the
Yes,
ones
there's
where
a
I'm
lot
like,
where she's not in it, though. I don't know. And then, I love both Pamela Anderson and Nicole Kidman, both of those performances. I would love to see at least one of them. Those are like my dreams. Again, probably a lot, but Kieran Culkin. I mean, I would also love that for Jessie, too, But
Yeah.
those are my most beloved performances.
well, I would really like to see Sing Sing get nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
It's kind of like been hovering. Especially because I feel like now I'm defending the underdog. Just because it isn't getting like that support, I'm really rooting for it. And then I think for director, I really would like to see Coralie Farjat get in there. It was great work. It was different.
Yeah, she has a very unique directorial vision. I mean, I think that's what Best Director should be all about.
It was
like,
really
you see
unique.
it and you're like, that's a Coralie, right?
I think for Best Actress, I would have loved to have seen June Squibb get some love on her, like, role in Thelma. And for Best Actor, I definitely want to see Coleman Domingo be nominated. He's probably going to be nominated, but I want to see that happen. But for Best Supporting Actor, I really wanted to see Clarence Macklin from Sing Sing. He's been just outside of the bubble. I would love to see him get recognized because I thought he did really good work in that film.
Well, for director, I would love to see Coralie Farjat get nominated. I think it's probably going to go to the Brutalist director, but I just want to see her in there. I didn't have super strong feelings about Best Actor. I would love to see Sebastian Stan and Daniel Craig in there because I think they're both great. And then Supporting Actor, I love Kieran Culkin. Would be fun to see a surprise Stanley Tucci nomination for Conclave. Actually, Denzel Washington, he was the most interesting thing about the Gladiator 2 movie. And,
I didn't see that.
like,
I've been avoiding that one. That's one that I've been like, please don't make me watch this. So as he was sort of like falling out of the top 5, somebody was saying he outacts like everyone in the movie, in every scene that he's in. He's definitely like the most compelling thing in the movie. And then somebody was like, are you really being a good supporting actor if you're pulling all the attention from your leads? And I was like, ooh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that angle.
I mean, it was not as good as the original as far as the story goes. And I love Paul... I'm so bad with names these days.
Well, names like the Mescal and Pascal and
that's another pair that became best friends because of that movie, and I love that so much. They went on vacation together.
I don't really see him as an action star.
Mescal?
Yeah, Mescal.
I know, but I want him to be an After Sun and all of us stuff that I want to see, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I don't like when I love someone from indie stuff and then they just start doing blockbuster stuff there. Let's not lose Paul Mescal.
Definitely.
I would like to see Margaret Qualley get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I didn't see Emilia Pérez, but I really like Selena Gomez, so...
She was my favorite part about the movie.
She was good. She was very good.
Yeah.
Like her little face.
I like her face,
yeah.
I know her from Neighbors too, I think. She's in that movie
Neighbors too, yeah.
I like those movies a lot.
I think those movies are pretty funny.
You know I'm on record as I love Zac Efron.
Yeah, and I love Seth Rogen and Zac Efron.
And Rose Byrne. Oh my God.
Yeah, they're great. They're pretty great comedies.
I thought she was
I
really
stand
good
behind
in
those
that.
movies.
Yeah, I think she really showed what a great actress she is in that film.
And she was the best singer.
Yeah, although I didn't
sing.
like her song, Mi Camino. Usually there'll be like 2 songs from that, but I liked the El Mal one better. But I was like, I really want to like the Selena Gomez one better.
Baxter. I gotta say, it's bullshit that there are 2 songs from Emilia Pérez nominated, and then we got the word that they disqualified a song and added a Diane Warren song, which Denise will talk all about. But for one hot second, I was like, oh, did they get rid of one of the Emilia Pérez songs? Nope, they're both still there. Instead, they got rid of a song from Better Man, which sampled Jim Croce. So it didn't count as an original song, apparently. I guess I don't have a horse in that race at all, but it could have made room for a song from a movie about a trans woman told from the trans perspective. Will and Harper, the Kristen Wiig song that she wrote for that movie, was so cute and so touching and perfectly encapsulated the film. And that was just such a beautiful movie, and I'm really pissed that it's not in the documentary category. And if Hollywood really cared about telling trans stories, they would have included Will and Harper, and they would have included I Saw the TV Club. Denise.
And then for Best Actress, I don't think Lily Rose Depp will get a nomination, but I think she was so great in that. And then love Mikey Madison. I really hope Pamela Anderson gets nominated. I have not seen it, but I want her to get, you know.
She's just always been great.
Yeah.
At the very least, I hope lets her 2 more movies where she has agency like she had in that movie.
Yeah.
Because she really felt fulfilled making it from the interviews I've heard, which is nice for her.
Another movie I really want to see is Hard Truths. Marianne Jean-Baptiste, her character is very misanthropic, and it comes from such a place of pain. And it sounds like a fascinating character. I really want to see that movie. It would be cool if she got nominated.
That was another surprise for me. Is Mike Leigh is such a huge director, right? People loved him. A lot of his other movies got a lot of accolades. It's like I just keep forgetting it even exists because no one's talking about it.
It seems like he only makes a movie like every
he doesn't
15
make them very
years.
often.
She's ranked 6th right now.
Who's ranked 7th?
Angelina Jolie. And then 8th is Nicole Kidman. And then Pamela Anderson.
An outrage.
And then Pamela Anderson is 9th. And then June Squibb is 10th.
Oh my god.
Who's 4th?
Cynthia Erivo. So right now it's Demi Moore, Mikey Madison, Carlos Sofia Gascon, and Cynthia Erivo, and Fernanda Torres.
I mean, again, like, I want a trans woman to get a nomination, but
Yeah.
why?
For
Why this one?
Hot pile of garbage, right?
Yeah, it just kind of seems like Hollywood congratulating themselves
Yeah.
for...
Yeah, it's like Crash for trans people, I feel.
Yeah.
It also seems to me like Zoe Saldana is that lead. Like
Yeah,
I feel like
it's
she
about-
has more
it is
screen
about her,
time
even
than
though she's
anybody
not the
else.
titular-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, they can't have 2 winners if they push forward 2 people for the same category, so they have to position them.
There's always the choice, I guess, they have to make. You know, it's such a pie in the sky thing, but I saw the TV Globe for Best Picture because I would.
I want to live in that world.
Love to see that. I would absolutely love it. More likely, but still a long shot. Alina Rain for Babygirl, Best Director.
These are the best Oscars.
Yeah, this would be great. For Best Actor, I really wanted to see some love for Josh O'Connor from Challengers. I thought he was so good, and just having seen him in other things, it's very different than anything he's ever done before.
Okay, first of all, which one is he?
Patrick.
The dark
It's
hair
from
one.
The Crown.
Okay, thanks.
That was the biggest shock for me because I first was exposed to him in The Crown, and he plays Charles so well that I was like, I hate that guy. And, you know, he's capable of doing all kinds of stuff. And I just thought he was so good and such a standout.
Is he an American playing a British
No,
person in that, or is he
that's
a Brit
another
playing an
thing.
American
He's
person?
a British person, and he has a perfect American accent.
I would not have ever
Spotless.
guessed.
Spotless. I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name now. The actor who plays Art, like, almost seems more British, even though he's American.
Yeah.
Mike Feist.
Mike Feist, thank you. And then Best Actress, I put Nicole Kidman.
Oh,
please,
yes.
let's see that. Even though I don't think she has a chance of winning, I just want to see her there at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And see her face in the box when they call all the nominees, and she's just...
No, she has the best
so
hair.
great.
I love her. Yeah, she's so good at the styling, you know.
Yeah.
Like, she always, like, for me, best dressed. I always love
She's
her
so
looks.
singular because she is a fucking movie star, but also a character actor.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
everything. She's the complete package. She is movies, right?
She is.
If she does
can
get
go to her
nominated,
for
will you wear
magic.
your costume?
Exactly. When she says this place, she means Nicole Kidman.
Yes, I will watch the Oscars in my Nicole Kidman suit.
And then I did put Best Supporting Actor Kieran, but he will get it.
Yeah.
So, but I
seem
think
like
it's
it's
deserved.
So good.
I feel like that would be the upset of the year if he didn't get it.
Right.
Like if he, didn't,
Yeah.
if he doesn't win.
Be like, are you
I think-
sure you didn't read the wrong envelope again?
Yeah, definitely. Be like, what just happened?
And then for supporting, what we were talking, I'm like, Carol Kane, she needs some accolades. She's so much better than she's gotten credit for all these years. But maybe again, she'll just be in more things now, I hope.
Editor's note. Since we were unable to go through the actual nominees while we recorded this episode, I had everybody record their picks after the fact with a little header about who is talking. Best Actor in a Leading Role. And the nominees are Adrian Brody, The Brutalist; Timothée Chalamet, A Complete Unknown; Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing; Sebastian Stan, The Apprentice; Baxter. I still haven't seen Sing Sing, but I've heard enough from Denise and other people that Coleman Domingo killed it. And it just is always nice to see a person of color get not only a nomination, but an award. So let's give it to Coleman, please.
My guess is that it's going to Adrian Brody or Timothée. I guess I would hope for Timothy over Adrian, just because Adrian already got one. I still haven't seen A Complete Unknown. Don't know if I'm even going to. I'd rather just watch Walk Hard again, probably. But, yeah. I want them to give it to Coleman Domingo, but if they're not going to do that, then how about Timothy? Denise.
My heart wants Coleman Domingo because he was so good in Sing Sing. I think we all know it's going to be either Adrian Brody or Timothy. And lately, it seems like Timothy's kind of gaining some traction. But I still think Adrian's going to get it.
Christina.
My prediction is Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, because he's really won a lot of them so far. I didn't see Sing Sing. I heard that Coleman Domingo's amazing, and then Ralph Fiennes was great in Conclave. He's been around a while. I don't know. That could be a surprise win. And then, I don't know, Timothée Chalamet. He's probably a front runner too, but I think ultimately probably Adrian Brody.
Amy.
I think I've only seen The Brutalist, but I do like all of the actors that are nominated. I just haven't seen the movies they're nominated for. I don't want Timothée Chalamet. I don't want to encourage that kind of thing. This is my least favorite kind of thing, is the biopics. And he's so good in so many things. This is, the only one I've seen is Adrian Brody, and I think he's great. For me, I feel like the AI thing is a non-issue. I feel like they used a little movie magic in the way... for me, in this particular case, don't really think that's an issue. This is definitely still his performance. I hope if he wins, he does not give anyone any unwanted touching like he did. I don't know, maybe he's not as insufferable as he used to be, but I hope that if Adrian Brody wins, he just gives a handshake and a thank you to whoever gives him that award. Although I think now they do, I don't know. I just hope he doesn't assault Halle Berry again.
Best Actor in a Supporting Role. The nominees are Yura Borisov, Anora, Kieran Culkin, A Real Pain, Edward Norton, A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce, The Brutalist, Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice. Baxter. Yes, obviously it's going to Kieran Culkin, and I love that. That's great. Go, Kieran. You deserve it. You're amazing. I love all Culkin children. Kieran, you rule. Denise.
I don't know. I would like to see Kieran Culkin get it because that's kind of like A Real Pain's main chance to get something. But I feel like people really like Jeremy Strong's performance in The Apprentice. But I don't know. I'm going to go with Kieran Culkin on that one.
Christina.
The favorite here is Kieran Culkin. It would be cool if Jeremy Strong won for The Apprentice, because I think he's such a great actor and brought a lot to that Ray Cohn role. But yeah, going with Kieran here.
Amy.
Kieran Culkin, I'm not really seeing how that is a supporting role. Someone who's in almost every scene of that movie, I would say. Except maybe when they're talking about him I'm not going to count how many scenes he is or isn't in, but I would say that is definitely a movie where there are two leading men. So again, why is this a supporting role? I don't know, but I loved that movie, and he is perfect in it because it's not easy to do that kind of thing where he's so likable and such a pain, because he's such a dick sometimes, but he's also so charming and likable. That I don't think is really easy to do at all. And so yeah, that's my prediction and hope.
Best Actress in a Leading Role. And the nominees are Cynthia Erivo, Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon, Emilia Pérez, Mikey Madison, Anora, Demi Moore, The Substance, Fernanda Torres, I'm Still Here, Baxter. So Carla Sofia Gascon has obviously shot herself in the foot by now. That's never gonna happen. I want it to be Demi Moore. It might be Demi. She's already got 2 awards for this role, and what a comeback story for her. I'd be so happy for her to get that. I think if it's not going to be Demi, they might go rogue and give it to Mikey Madison. Once again, let's just talk about Nicole. Where's Nicole? It's just a fucking crime that Nicole Kidman isn't recognized for any of her work. She was amazing in Babygirl. Go see Babygirl. And then listen to our episode that we're going to do about it. Denise.
I think we all know it is not going to be Carla Sofia Gascon. I think it's not going to be Cynthia Erivo. It's probably between Demi Moore and Fernanda Torres at this point, but I think the Academy is a different voting block than the Golden Globe, so I would like to think Demi Moore.
Christina.
My prediction and my dream for who wins this is Demi Moore. I just think she was so great in that, and I really hope she wins it. I loved Mikey Madison also in Anora, but I think Demi is going to win.
Amy.
I, again, care a little more about the snubs because I loved Nicole Kidman and I loved Pamela Anderson. I don't especially love anybody else's performance. I hope it's anybody but Emilia Pérez. I think this is like objectively the most interesting because there's been the most drama and the most sort of ups and downs. Like I think originally Mikey Madison had a lot more momentum than she does now. I guess I kind of hope Demi Moore wins of all of these people. I guess I can't hope that Nicole Kidman wins because she's not there. I have no issue with her winning, although I'm underwhelmed by the substance, but I will get into that more in a little bit. I don't know, I kind of think that after all the drama, she's going to end up the winner. So that will be kind of a cool thing to watch.
Best Actress in a Supporting Role. The nominees are Monica Barbaro, A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande, Wicked, Felicity Jones, The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini, Conclave, Zoe Saldana, Emilia Pérez. Baxter. Not a lot of great choices here for me. Not a lot of choices I'm excited about anyway. Where the fuck is anybody cool? Where is Carol Kane? I guess I hope that they give it to Zoe Saldana as like a legacy thing. I've liked her in other roles, even though that movie was shit. They'll probably give it to her, but if they don't, then I think Ariana Grande is a close second. And I won't be mad at that. Denise.
I thought Zoe Saldana was good. She's been sort of the front runner this whole time. Although the film, Emilia Pérez, really has a lot of controversy around it. People are not happy with its presentation of the trans experience. Some people just think it was badly done. People thought the musical numbers were weird. People complained about the use of AI to expand Carla's vocal range. But Zoe Saldana was great in that film, and her performance for El Mal was, I think, my favorite thing I've ever seen her do. So that's who I think is going to get supporting actress. By comparison, Isabella Rossellini is like barely in the movie. Like it's practically a cameo. I think it's a testament to her acting that she was not in the film for very long and she's getting nominated.
Christina.
Gotta be honest, I didn't see a lot of these movies. Heard a lot of great things about Zoe Saldana, but I don't know what's gonna happen with this whole thing with Carla that's happened in the last couple of days. It's really bad for the movie, and whatever they were trying to say about how progressive it was, it's sort of blowing up right now. So I think Ariana's got a good chance. So I'm gonna say it still like comes down to Ariana and Zoe Saldana. The dark horse winner here probably is Isabella Rossellini, but I don't know. I'd be very surprised. But stranger things have happened.
Amy.
I love Ariana Grande. I always love her. I think she was so great in Wicked. I didn't love Wicked at all, but when she was on screen, like, she's magic. Like, my only issue there is, like, she is a lead. Like, I don't know why she's in supporting. Like, there are two leads. I don't know why people act like if there are two people of the same sex in a movie, one of them is a lead and one is supporting. She is not in a supporting role in this movie, but she still, for me, made the movie watchable. And she's so great and adorable, and it'd be fun if she was, like, halfway to EGOT. I assume that she has a Grammy, so anyway. So that I think I'm going to go with that's my hope and prediction for that.
Best Director. The nominees are Sean Baker, Anora, Brady Corbett, The Brutalist. James Mangold, A Complete Unknown. Jacques Audard. Emilia Pérez. Corley Farja, The Substance. Baxter. Best Director. Here are the mostly male nominees. Obviously, I'm rooting for Corley. I don't think she's going to get it. I think it's going to Brady Corbett. But go Corley. Amy.
I am once again underwhelmed. I don't know. I'm going to rewatch The Substance pretty soon, and maybe... I really liked it when I saw it. It was very entertaining, but it didn't really stick with me in any meaningful way. And I mean, I can suspend disbelief for a lot of things. Like, there's a lot of things about it that I can just accept. Okay, this is what's happening in the universe of this movie. But there's also, I feel like, stuff that just fundamentally doesn't make any sense. And that's a little bit harder to ignore. But having said all that, I think my issues with The Substance are much more about the screenplay. So, it'd be very cool to see a woman director win. I mean, it is well directed and it's very entertaining and really original, this director's vision. I don't think she's going to win. I guess that's my hope. My hope is, again, anyone but the Emilia Pérez guy. My prediction, I think, is probably the guy from The Brutalist, Brady Corbett.
Best Picture. And the nominees are Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Pérez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, Wicked, Baxter. Obviously, I want it to be The Substance. Maybe it's not that obvious. The Substance. I would hope it would go to The Substance. There's no way in hell it's going to The Substance. Not just because it's a woman director, but because it's a movie about women. It's probably going to be The Brutalist or A Complete Unknown. I still haven't seen Nickel Boys, but I would be pretty happy if that won over anything else besides The Substance. Obviously, Emilia Pérez can go to hell. The Challengers snub? What the hell is going on with that? Why is Challengers completely missing from every category? And for that matter, you had the chance to nominate 2 Guadagnino movies. Luca, he's just one of the best there is, and he made 2 incredible movies in 2024. Challengers is a perfect movie. It didn't get nominated for score. It didn't get nominated for acting. It didn't get nominated for director, editing, all of those things it would have been very qualified for. It's a great movie, and it's absolute bullshit that it's not there. Denise.
I feel like it's going to go to The Brutalist. That film was pretty epic, although I just was talking to a friend about it, and she thought it was too long and that the editing was terrible. She had all kinds of things to say about it. I loved it. I thought it was great. So anyway, that's my pick for Best Picture. I know we talked about A Real Pain quite a bit, and I'm shocked that it didn't get nominated. Of course, I'm devastated that the other film that did not make the Best Picture list was Sing Sing. I don't really know what I was expecting. Maybe I wasn't expecting I'm Still Here to be on the list. Nickel Boys and I'm Still Here, I think, might be the only 2 that I haven't totally expected to be on the list. But yeah, just bummed that Sing Sing didn't make it on there. I'm really glad Coleman Domingo got the nomination, and glad that Sing Sing got adapted screenplay nomination, but would have liked to have seen it get on the Best Picture list. I thought it was well done and I enjoyed it.
Christina.
Okay, I think The Brutalist is going to win this. The other maybe in the running would be Conclave, I think, or Wicked. But I think after the last few days, I don't see a world where Emilia Pérez is going to win much of anything. In a dream, it would be The Substance. Yeah, I think it's going to be The Brutalist winning this one.
Amy.
Of the ones I've seen, there's nothing that I really love. I'm a little bit like, I hope it's anything but Emilia Pérez. I really wish A Real Pain was on there. A lot of the movies I loved this year weren't really contenders, but Real Pain was, I think, the only one that I loved that could have been up there. Like, I haven't seen Conclave or Nickel Boys, which I do want to see that one, but it just came out like so late in the game and then I was away. So maybe I will see it and love that. My hope is anything but Emilia Pérez. My guess is The Brutalist, I guess. I feel like that's the most Oscar baity thing, and it's fine. So anyway, overall, like, the Oscar nominations are not great to me, but whatever. I don't feel like they end up being meaningful anyway, and it's a spectacle and it's fun to see what everybody wears and do the prop bets and watch. So I'm very excited for the ceremony, and we'll see if Ariana gets to win and be in a cool dress and do a great acceptance speech.
All right, wow. We sure did it. Gosh.
We did it.
Good luck editing.
I'm just going to pull a ragweed and not edit any of that.
Here's a 9-hour-long episode.
Right. Denise, thank you so much for joining us once again. You're our Oscar girl. We love having you, and you're always the most prepared and the most knowledgeable and indispensable for our Oscar pod.
It's just smoke and mirrors. Movie magic.
Well, we come to this place for magic.
It's not AI.
It's not AI.
Moving magic.
It's artistry.
I love doing this every year. I look forward to it a lot. So, yeah.
That's wonderful.
If you enjoyed this episode of Paid in Puke, please take a minute to give us 5 stars on your preferred podcast app, such as Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon. If you did not enjoy this podcast, no further action is necessary. Follow us on Blue Sky at Paid in Puke Pod, on Instagram at Paid in Puke Seattle, and on YouTube at Paid in Puke Podcast. Paid in Puke is hosted by Amy Green, Jessica Baxter, and Christina Barr. Music by Silent Partner and Jessica Baxter. Produced and edited by Divine Betty Media. Thank you for listening. You're beautiful.
Lick it up, baby. Lick it